Might be some rain coming through. We expect rain soon. Rain is close. The session has been declared wet. No sign of this rain stopping. Rain is clearing up. Rain should be gone for now. Nothing but sunshine all day.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the ISCA Super Cup Series as we tackle the O'Reilly Auto Parts 195 at Phoenix Raceway. Of course, my name is Brian Britt. I have I don't have a co-commentator here tonight, unfortunately. Hopefully Big Al's doing okay, and he makes it safely wherever he's going tonight. I know he's going to be traveling. But of course, we do have down behind the cameras Kobe Jordan. He's going to be helping us out, bringing all the awesome camera angles here tonight at Phoenix Raceway, this mile track that has a lot of short track tendencies and features. Definitely excited to see what these guys are going to be able to do here. Of course, we are in the midst of qualifying. Watching Brian Johnson right now. I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, he was last week's winner at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and look at the points coming into this nice race, and then we'll look at the race details. Let's take a look at those points, okay? Brian Johnson, as I mentioned, last week's winner. He's at the top of the board with 118 points. He has a very narrow margin of a lead right now, though, considering second place Derek Heitman has, I do believe he's about 4 points back from Brian Johnson. Both Brian Johnson and Heitman have a win apiece and 2 top fives. Luckily, Brian Johnson, though, has one more playoff point. Randy Mullins sits in third. He's been really consistent this season so far. Brandon Passalacqua, he's in fourth. Shane Parrish in fifth. Mark Sanchez, who won, I do believe, the first race at Daytona, is in sixth place. Seventh place, Patrick Gitter. Eighth, Matt DeCiani. Ninth, Miller Bonds. And 10th, Alexander Carr. So now let's look into some of the race details here tonight. We're going to figure out exactly what we're going to be expecting here when it comes to stages, how many sets of tires we're going to have, and also fuel windows. Of course, this is the O'Reilly Auto Parts 195, so 195 miles here. And, of course, this being a mile racetrack, it is going to be 195 laps here tonight. Stages will be 40 and 90, so we will see the caution flag wave at the completion of lap 40, and the, of course, caution flag wave at the completion of lap 90. 7 sets of tires altogether. Now, 6 actually down in the pits. Tires are going to be, I do believe, a huge resource here tonight. 93 laps, of course, of fuel. So fuel not going to be something we're going to talk about a whole lot tonight. Now, if that final stage goes green, the entire run, I think then it would be a big talking point, but I don't believe it's going to come down to that. I do believe Phoenix is a track that is kind of unpredictable, especially with the way the dog leg is. If you go down there, a lot of times people won't let you back up, so we could see some incidents based on that. I do believe we'll see a caution that will split that last stage up. But we'll have to wait and see for sure. Let's take a quick look at the track details. What kind of temperature are we feeling right now at Phoenix Raceway? Looks like actually pretty cool. 71 degrees, ambient, 95 trackside, which is not too bad. Usually when you come to a track like Phoenix, Arizona, you think you're going to have probably 100-plus degree weather. The wind, though, is a different story. We do have about 9-mile-an-hour winds that are, I do believe, heading in the northwest. Kind of going up and down here. Clear sky conditions. We could see the conditions change quite a bit here in Avondale. So definitely curious to see how that plays out. Of course, we did have a recent inclusion of rain into the iRacing service. Curious to see will that play a role here tonight. I definitely doubt it. Weather like rain will not, I do believe, affect NASCAR series, but definitely curious to see what other updates iRacing has made and other changes. I know they have made quite a big update to the short track package to the iRacing Next Gen car on Tuesday. So curious to see how that affects the racing here tonight. I know there's a lot of some newcomers. Jeremy Sumter, one I'm looking at really closely. And, of course, all the other favorites, Derek Heitman, Brandon Passalacqua, Chris Johnson, Brian Johnson, all them making their way onto the track here tonight. While we have about 30 seconds left, I think everybody's going to be getting gridded here in a moment. Let's take a quick step away. We'll pay attention to our we'll give some attention to our national anthem. And then we'll, of course, play a few commercials, and then we'll be right back with your starting grid.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regular, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
You went, you served, and forged the relationships that only being baptized in the fire of combat can develop. At FallInVeteran.com, we understand the unique bond that veterans share. That's why we've created a platform where you can connect, share experiences, and build lifelong friendships with fellow veterans. Signing up is easy. Simply visit www.fall-in-veteran.com and create your profile. Customize it to reflect your military service, interests, and hobbies. FallInVeteran.com is more than just an online community. It's a support network where you can find resources, advice, and encouragement from those who understand what you've been through. Whether you're looking for camaraderie, mentorship, or simply a place to share your stories, FallInVeteran.com has it all. Join thousands of veterans who have already found their tribe and start connecting today. FallInVeteran.com. Come join us and experience the power of community. Sign up now at www.fall-in-veteran.com.
Oh, O'Reilly. It's O-Rewards Member Appreciation Month at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Stop in today and check out store-wide savings plus earn double points on over 225 items. It's our way of saying thank you. If you're not already a member, sign up today during O-Rewards Member Appreciation Month. It's fast, easy, and free. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the ISCA Super Cup Series here at Phoenix Raceway. We have the grid set for this evening's action. And, of course, starting on the front row, on the pole, first pole of the season, Miller Bonds in the 12 machine. Definitely a really great time there for him. A 26.890, one of the fastest laps we've seen so far here tonight. Of course, Jeremy Sumter, newcomer to the series. He's going to be starting in second place. So very curious to see how he's going to perform here tonight, starting on that outside row. Of course, David Centeni, he's going to be starting in the third place. We do apologize. Looks like we're having a little bit of an issue with our overlay. But as you can see, the name is actually in the middle of the screen there. David Centeni starting third. Matt DeCiani starting in fourth place. Brandon Passalacqua, of course, going to be starting in fifth. Kyle Holden is going to be starting in sixth place. Josh Schaffner, he's going to be lining up in seventh. Mark Sanchez, our first winner of the season, he's going to be starting in eighth. Randy Mullins, he's been really fast this season. He starts in ninth place. Chris Johnson, he's going to be in 10th. Of course, 11th place going to be Derek Heitman. 12th, J.C. Evans. 13th, Greg Carr. And interesting to note, nephew Alexander Carr on the same row, going to be starting in 14th. Of course, 15th going to be Evan Longacre. 16th, Tanner Marty. 17th, Darren Mullins. 18th, Jay Hone. Kenny Powell's going to be starting in 19th, while Blair Holloman is going to be starting in 20th. 21st is going to be Greg Wachinski. He's been having some bad luck this season. Hopefully he can turn it around here tonight. 22nd, Kenneth Bartholomew. 23rd, Randy Belk. 24th, Tim Wortman Jr. And, of course, 25th, Brian Johnson, last week's winner at Las Vegas. Patrick Gitter going to be starting all the way back in 26th. Be curious to see how he works his way through the field, considering he is usually a front runner in this series. Paul Olson is going to be starting in 27th. 28th, John Binder. 29th, Jeffrey Ford. And rounding out his 30-car field, Frank Flores. So lovely to see that we're having consistently 30 cars every week. And I think this has been so awesome to see. And can't wait to see how this continues if we can keep having, all these drivers that show up week in and week out. I think it's going to be a dogfight, a battle, if you will, for the championship. This is going to be a long season, ladies and gentlemen. And every win I think we see is going to possibly lock someone into the playoffs coming up, in a few months. But definitely interesting to see how Miller Bonds is going to handle this situation starting up at the front of the field. He's rocking a little bit of a different paint scheme here tonight. A little bit of a blue and silver. Really enjoying that new color scheme. I know usually Miller has a gold paint scheme, so interesting to see something new. We were talking during the commercial break a little bit, me and my producer, about the performances we've been seeing from David Centeni in the 79 machine. I do want to reiterate that here on the broadcast as well. David has been having a fantastic run this season. Really, I don't think he's gotten the finishes that he deserves. Of course, we saw him win one of the duels, I do believe. As well, he's been running very, very consistent in the actual points races as well. But unfortunately, I don't think he's, like I said, I just don't think he's gotten the finishes that he's deserved. Hopefully, that'll be different tonight. I really hope that 79 can get something done because he's shown a lot of pace here all season long so far. Kyle Holden, he's been a very consistent qualifier. He's going to be starting in that sixth place position, and I know that he's actually been getting pretty consistent finishes as well on the 59. Now, one driver we haven't seen a whole lot of success from here as late, I should say, is Josh Schaffner. We know Josh Schaffner has always been a championship contender in the ISCA series, but Josh has just not been getting the finishes I think he wants. And I know he missed a couple weeks as well due to going to the real-life Daytona race. I'm sure he's really looking forward to getting some good finishes in here, as I do believe we should be rolling very soon. I hear some drivers revving their engines, and I do believe, yes, the pace car should be moving right now. So here we go, getting the festivities underway here at Phoenix Raceway. And this is going to be a difficult racetrack here. Pit road is going to be quite a difficult thing to deal with. I watched a friend of mine do a race here, I do believe on Wednesday for the NIS, last night to be exact. And pit road was quite a treacherous thing to deal with. It's very easy to lose a lot of time on pit road, considering you have to go down the entire, I do believe, backstretch into the corner. Here goes the pace car down pit road, and you're going to get to see exactly kind of what I'm referring to, this backstretch. These guys essentially have to file down this backstretch until we get to the Geico restart zone. As you can see, we're going to be entering turn 3 and 4 right now, which goes into the dogleg portion of the racetrack.
Green flag.
And there it is. Green flag is out. For the first time this evening, Miller Bonds up to the gears, all the way down. Oh, we're already having problems. David Centeni spins it out and takes out a bunch of race cars with him.
Really?
David Centeni on the start spins out his race car and just eliminates a lot of the competition. And that was the 79. As we take a look back at this, of course, we're catching it a little bit late here. So we're going to have to look back and see if we can see exactly what happened to the 79. Clearly, Kyle Holden very much involved in this. Right here, the 79, I do believe, of Centeni hits the apron. The banking change there just kicks him loose. Look at this. I mean, this is insane. Coming off right on the restart, right in when the green flag waves, essentially, we see Centeni, as soon as he hits that banking change, just shoots up the racetrack right in front of some other race cars. I know, I do believe we saw Kyle Holden definitely got taken out in that. I do believe that's Brandon Pasalacqua in the 6 machine that's right in front of Josh Schaffner here. He started in 5th, and he was very much affected by this crash. That is a unfortunate deal right there. You can see Randy Mullins was driving on the bottom of the track, so a lot of drivers are fortunate that they got through that. But I do believe David Centeni missing his front end. We see, I do believe, the 73 of Kenneth Bartholomew already missing his front end. So a lot of race cars are already incredibly damaged as a result of that crash on lap number 1. You hate to see that. I mean, that is just insane to see an accident that happens on the start like that. And I think that's going to be a cautionary tale for a lot of drivers, considering we're going to see drivers probably trying to dip down there a lot. And I think, you know, when you're on these restarts, you do not have heat in the tires. So it's going to be very much unsettling the race car as we start this race under caution, essentially. And we saw Kyle Holden's front end is missing as well. That is just a heartbreaker for that team. A lot of drivers are going to be spending a lot of time on pit road, and that's getting repairs done. And that's one thing that I wanted to talk about earlier is this pit road. It's going to be very difficult to get these repairs completed. And I also want to mention we do have a little bit of a mix-up when it comes to the running order right now. I do believe a lot of drivers are going to get locked a lap down, if I'm not mistaken, as a result of this caution. Most of the time, one thing about iRacing, if you have a caution at the initial green flag, right when the green flag essentially waves, it can cause all sorts of glitches and bugs in the iRacing service. We'll have to see how that plays out, though. It looks like everybody, I do believe some drivers are going to get the wave around here, but we do see Kenneth Bartholomew. He, of course, going down pit road, going to try to get some necessary repairs. This is not the way you want to start a race at Phoenix Raceway, I'll tell you that. But at the moment, top 5, Miller Bonds, Jeremy Sumter, Matt DeCiani, Josh Schaffner, and Randy Mullins. As we can see, waiver rounds are being given out. Pace car lights have gone out. Let's see if we can get this back in order. We, of course, are going to have, I do believe, 35 laps left in this stage. We started this race under caution, essentially. We just almost decimated the field. Never seen really anything like that as the pace car down pit road. Tell you what, Big Al was missing out on a interesting race, that is for sure. As Miller Bonds, once again, gets the field ready to go green flag racing. Hopefully we can get some green flag racing. As Bonds goes through 3 and 4, he's getting ready to enter the Geico restart zone. Green flag back out for the second time. I think a lot of people learned lessons. You don't see anybody really going down there as much. And I think everybody able to successfully navigate their way through the dog leg as Miller Bonds leads into 1 and 2. Matt DeCiani trying to peek in underneath. Jeremy Sumter not able to get the start he needs on that top side. Side by side with a 1 of Matt DeCiani. They are racing very close. Sumter known for being an aggressive driver, and they are tagging each other for second place as they race as well for 4th. Josh Schaffner trying to hold on to 4th as he races his teammates Chris Johnson. Derek Heitman driving his way up to 5th right now. What a run for him. He started in 11th, I do believe. And we see the 76 watching Derek Heitman wheel and deal and cut his way through the field. Jeremy Sumter as well has made his way up to 2nd place. Alexander Carr is up to 8th. J.C. Evans is in 9th. Tanner Marty is in 10th. As the yellow flag is out, I believe Kenny Powell possibly involved. 24 of Kenny Powell, Greg Wachinski as well. As Powell cuts the dog leg quite a bit. And they are 3 wide entering, I do believe, 3 and 4. That's 1 and 2, I should say. And you see Powell trying to hold the bottom. I'm wondering what went wrong here. We see this, maybe something must have happened. Not quite sure what here. I think we might have went a little bit far back and quite see what happened now. Well, Kenny Powell, yeah, he does not have a front end right now, so something definitely happened. My producer said that nothing happened. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I don't think Kenny Powell's bumper would agree with that statement. But here we go. So it looks like I think someone lost it in front of Powell. So I think we have who is that in front of Powell that lost it? And we want to look for Tim Wortman Jr. Oh, no, that's not Tim Wortman Jr. Who is that? I think that is correct. That is Blair Holloman in the 10. That's the person we're going to want to look at. This is going to be the domino that falls here that causes Kenny Powell to lose his front end and many other drivers to, yeah, he just loses it. All of a sudden on the top line, let's take a cockpit camera. Let's ride along with the 10 and see exactly what happened here. Blair Holloman, we're sitting here in the 10's cockpit, and all of a sudden, he just loses it. There was no wheel movement at all that should have caused this. Hold on a second. I think I saw the... Let's go back to that cockpit, because I feel like I saw his RPMs red line. I think there might have been a shifting issue here that could have caused him to lose it. Right? There. Yes, I think he might have had a shifting issue. One thing that I have not mentioned here yet tonight is that shifting is something that can happen at Phoenix now with the new short track package. I have been hearing about it all week long that drivers are shifting from 4th to 5th in the dog leg. And I think that might be exactly what kicked the Tana Blair Holloman loose. Already we're having problems here in tonight's race at Phoenix Raceway. We've seen 2 cautions, both based on drivers making a mistake and spinning in front of the field. And this has caused a lot of drivers to, I do believe, have a premature finish to their race. Let's take a look at the weakest link so far here tonight. Brandon Passalacqua is 1 lap down in 25th. Tim Wortman Jr., he's 1 lap down, actually now 2 laps down in 26th. Kyle Holden, 7 laps down. Kenneth Bartholomew, he is now 8 laps down. Davidson Tenney, who started, I do believe, in 3rd, is now 9 laps down. Mark Sanchez, 9 laps down. And as you can clearly see, we were looking at Passalacqua there. He is missing his front end. Kenny Powell, who's just involved in that crash, somehow is still on the lead lap, as he is missing his front end as well. We're going to have, I think, more cars missing their front end than cars that don't have their front end. They do have their front end, I should say. But here we go. Pace car lights have gone out, and what a interesting race we've had thus far. And there goes the pace car down pit road. Miller Bonds, Jeremy Sumter, still making up this front row. And let's see if anybody can slice and dice their way through this field. One driver that's been moving quickly through the field has been Derek Heitman, who won, I do believe, at Atlanta Motor Speedway just a couple weeks ago.
Green flag.
And here we are, green flag for the 3rd time here. How long can we stay green this time? As Matt DeCiani gets a little bit tight up on Jeremy Sumter as they battle for 2nd place. And I do believe I saw somebody dive down onto the apron trying to get out of the way of everybody else. We got some handling woes here tonight, that's for sure. As Heitman now battles with the 50 of Josh Schaffner for 4th place. And we got a lot of drivers trying to battle. You see the 54, Randy Mullen, sporting a new paint scheme there. Actually, that's the 56 of Chris Johnson, actually, sporting a new paint scheme. As well as you see Randy Mullins right behind, who is having to hold off J.C. Evans, the G&G new driver. And that is where the majority of the battle is taking place. We do see Darren Mullins battling with Evan Longacre. That's for the 12th place position. They're side by side. Further back, that's the 14 and the 64 that are battling. As here comes a big move to the inside from Derek Heitman. That is the 76 challenging for 4th. And you can see that Heitman has made the pass. He is now up into 4th place. Now going to try to chase down Jeremy Sumter. But Josh Schaffner not letting this position go. Tries to get a run. Not quite able to get underneath. And I hate to say it. I know a lot of people are probably thinking it. But Jeremy Sumter and Derek Heitman in other leagues and in official races, they do have a little bit of history. Will this bad blood spill over in the ISCA? I hate to pick the scabs of these wounds, but here we go. Battle for the lead as Matt DeCiani drives it in on the 12 car of Miller Bond. DeCiani, big run to the inside. DeCiani definitely always been a very good driver when it comes to tracks that require a brake pedal. And he is going to wrap right around the inside. Can he make the pass happen here? One thing about Phoenix, though, you can use that higher groove to get the runs on exit. And you can clearly see that Bonds is taking advantage of that. Miller Bonds is sideways in front of the field. What a save. 3 wide for the lead. As this opens up the door for Jeremy Sumter and Derek Heitman. Here we go. As here comes Heitman to the inside of Sumter. This is getting wild. And Sumter gives it up. I think he's going to try to relax a little bit. Don't want to race the 76 so hard so early as we're only 18 laps into this race. And wow, what a race here as Miller Bonds has lost the lead. He falls back to 5th place as DeCiani has taken over the top spot. And Josh Schaffner, he moves up to 4th. Miller Bonds definitely going to be desperate to move back up, as we're almost 3 wide for 5th there for a moment. As you can see, Chris Johnson trying to make something happen. Oh, Johnson gets close to the 12. These guys are really, really close. They're pushing each other quite a bit. As the battle for 3rd or 2nd, I should say, is still underway. Derek Heitman trying desperately to hold off Sumter. Sumter has always been an aggressive driver, as I mentioned, and he is desperate to put his name up in the lights of the ISCA. This is a series that everyone wants to win in. We see the 56, Chris Johnson, has taken over 12th for now. Miller Bonds fights hard on the high side. Bonds, of course, who was our pole sitter, trying to hold on to these positions as they fight door to door for 5th place. Chris Johnson, not a driver that likes to be denied. He is a driver that takes it very seriously as an aggressive driver. Here comes Bonds with the crossover maneuver. And it looks like Johnson into the outside wall, just a hair there as he battles with the 12. Oh, the 12 into the rear of the 56. And this is not over. They are aggressively touching. And this could go bad as the 54, Randy Mullins, has the best seat in the house. And we're taking a look on the roof camera here. As the 54 and the 56 are on the same team. Does the 54 cut the 56 some slack? It looks like Bonds, they're racing once again. They are not done yet as they race for 5th. Randy Mullins tries to take advantage of it as he dives to the inside of the 12. This is allowing J.C. Evans to only close in more and more as this battle is heating up right now for 6th place. This has definitely been an interesting race. I tell you what, this has been quite exciting action here at Phoenix Raceway thus far, as there's been a little bit of a heated drama. I'll tell you what, I think Miller Bonds' car was red, considering the way these drivers have been trying to get by him. Matt DeCiani, though, of course, in the lead right now. Let's take a quick look at the top 10. Matt DeCiani in the lead. Derek Heitman sits in 2nd place. He's been running some really, really good laps. Jeremy Sumter, he sits 3rd. Josh Schaffner is in 4th. Chris Johnson 5th. Miller Bonds is 6th place. Randy Mullins is in 7th. J.C. Evans is in 8th. 9th, Alexander Carr. 10th, Tanner Marty. So far, we've had a pretty good green run, over 10 laps thus far. So hopefully we can keep this run going as we have, I do believe, coming up to 15 laps to go in stage number 1. DeCiani seems to be the favorite at the moment, as lap times are very close amongst the top 7, I should say. Everybody in the 27.7s, 27.8s, everybody behind that a little bit slower. So we're seeing some discrepancies throughout the field. But also want to keep in mind, tire wear is going to be a huge deal. Who has the long run set up, I think, is going to be the key. ISCA, even though we've seen some cautions early in the goings here, usually ISCA is trends to have green flag runs. So if we have that later in this run, the long run, or later in this race, I should say, in stage 3, the long run is going to matter so much. And right now we're seeing Derek Heitman. He's got pretty good long run pace right now. Last time by, he was a 100th or so faster than Matt DeCiani. He's starting to catch up to our leader, as we're coming up, I do believe, now to 13 laps to go here in stage number 1. And so far, so good. I think everybody's found their rhythm. Now, this is very much a rhythm racetrack. I want to go further back into the field. Look at Brian Johnson, the 4 machine. He started way back in the back of this field, almost, I do believe, in 30th position. He is trying to work his way forward. He just got by Randy Belt. And let me see exactly how much positions he's got. Brian Johnson started in 25th. And he is right now, I do believe, fighting for 14th, trying to get by by Darren Mullins. So he is, I do believe, one of the biggest movers of the race thus far, and clearly showing that he's got the speed here at this track as he gets by Darren Mullins. So clearly he's got a fast race car underneath him. Of course, all the Paradigm drivers seem to be very quick here tonight. But Brian Johnson, he's been the one that has been able to go toe-to-toe with the Team Conti drivers of Matt DeCiani, Derek Heitman, and Patrick Gitter. Gitter is another one that's been moving through this field. He actually started, I do believe, around the same positions. Patrick Gitter, let's see where he started at. Patrick Gitter started in 26. So he started behind Brian Johnson. So Patrick Gitter, another one of the bigger movers. Yellow flag is out. 10 laps before stage 2 in, or one in. And I am not sure what has caused this caution. And I do believe we might have found it. It could have been Kyle Holden, possibly. As he, of course, is back on the racetrack, 23 laps down. Let's see exactly what happened here. Oh, he blew his engine. So that's unfortunate. Not his doing, not his fault, I should say. He was suffering from severe damage already. And you could clearly see the black smoke coming out of that hood. And that is a signifier of the engine letting go. And he knew the engine was going. He pulled down to the bottom, tried to stay out of the way. Unfortunately, he was on the racetrack, which is what led to that caution. And what a crazy night we've seen thus far. Wow. Let's go ahead and let's pull up Kyle Holden. Let's talk to him right quick. Kyle, I hope you don't mind. We brought you up here in the booth. We saw your engine grenaded there. How's your race been going?
It's been great. It hasn't really started. We tried to get out there for a couple laps, see if we could do anything, get some positions back. But I guess you just decided to blow up. Nothing wrong with the temps or anything. So something wrong with the engine there. But maybe we'll get them next week,
I know it's got to be very, very frustrating here. But, you were missing your front end there, and you were able to get it at least tied back on, glued or taped, whatever your crew used there. But somehow the engine let go on you. That's definitely unfortunate. What was happening in the beginning, according to you? I mean, I know we saw David Centini drove down onto the apron and all of a sudden just kicked loose. What do you think causes something like that?
I'm pretty sure he just bottomed out and then it got him loose a little bit and then it just kind of shoved. He couldn't just hold on to it. Sometimes you just catch too much air and it just bounces in the wrong direction. And I didn't see anything. I was looking to the guy to my left. He was kind of blocking my view of that happening, and all of a sudden he was just right in front of us. So it was kind of wild. I'm kind of glad, if I'm going to be out, it's going to happen early, so I don't have to kind of sit here and just, drive slow or, wait for the big one, 20 laps or 40 laps down the road. So, we'll come out here next week. Hopefully we can do something with them. Kenny's trying to come up with a good setup here. We ended up finding something a little bit with the speed there, but no luck with the cautions and the chaoticness of this track brings. So we'll see what happens next week.
Yeah, sorry to hear that, Kyle. I know you've been very, very consistent when it comes to your qualifying performance and your race performance. I know you did pretty well last week at Las Vegas from what we saw. But can we give a quick shout out to anybody before we let you go?
Oh, yeah, of course. Huge shout out to you guys in the booth. I love what you guys do. You always put on a good show for us. Huge thanks to Team Watson Racing. Kenny always putting out those fast setups for us. Right now we're trying to rework what we got and see if we can get even more speed out of it since the dog leg's been pretty treacherous for everyone. Hopefully we can find something, and I think we'll be good for the week. But huge thanks to everyone, and awesome thanks to James and everyone at Team Watson.
All right, Kyle. Well, thanks. We'll talk to you later, bud.
Appreciate it.
Definitely glad to be able to talk to Kyle Holden. Hadn't had the chance to have him up here in the booth yet this season. It's, even though that's a bad kind of reason to have somebody in the booth, it's still pretty cool. We got, of course, Matt DeCiani. Big decision here from him. He chooses to start up top. This is going to be interesting to see how this plays out here tonight. So I do believe we're going to have a 5-lap shootout for stage number 1, and I do believe for the most part everybody still on the same tires. We could see some wheel spin here. We did see some drivers pit, I do believe, for tires possibly a little bit deeper in the field. Could we see somebody drive through the field as a result of that? Here we go. Geico restart zone. Green flag is out. What a start from Matt DeCiani. Able to really get a good launch up there on that top side, and no wonder he picked it, as we're almost 3 wide for third place. Jeremy Sumter sends it in on the 76 of Derek Heitman. Josh Schaffner also trying to battle side by side with the 52 of Sumter. Miller Bonds trying to work his way back forward as we see Chris Johnson and Randy Mullins, I do believe, battling for 6th place right now. A little bit further back, I should say, Mullins, I do believe, actually fighting with J.C. Evans for 7th. Curious to see how the new tires are going to last here, or if the new tires are going to have an effect. I think Patrick Gitter on new tires right now. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out as we're coming up to 3 laps to go in stage 1. Alexander Carr's been showing some pretty good speed as he rides on the back bumper of the 9 of J.C. Evans. Him and Greg battling right now. Here comes Brian Johnson trying to work his way up into the top 10. He's in 12th right now. Keep in mind, the ISCA stage points are more important than anything. Battle for the lead. Heitman trying to fight with teammate Matt DeCiani. As I mentioned, playoff points are incredibly important. Stage points, I should say. They're more important than race wins a lot of times. Caution flag is out early here, and we're going to end this stage under yellow. J.C. Evans, another one bites the dust, missing his front end. That is the 9 of J.C. Evans. Went from the top 10, I do believe, all the way back to 24th. He is now missing his front end. This is a just terrible incident there. Yeah, we're going to have to go forward, not backwards, to find this incident. He is not looking that good right now. So let's see if we can't find exactly what happened to J.C. Evans. So something must have happened here. I think he was sitting here battling with Alexander Carr. Nope, this is the engine blew as a result of this. But let's take a look at it from a little bit more of a top-down view, because it seems like Alexander Carr and Evans, I think, had some contact that led to Evans having to essentially be put into the wall. Let's see if the 18 had something to do with this. You see the 18 drives it in underneath the 9, and a little bit of a tap on the left rear, I think, somehow unsettled the 9's race car. Yeah, let's take a different view here. I like this view. Oh, wow. Look at that. The rear end just pops up into the air. But another look at this right here. This is a good view. A little bit more of a top-down so we can get a little bit better of a bird's-eye view on things. You can see the 18 shows the nose, and the 9, I think J.C. Evans kind of somewhat tries to cut off the 18 a little bit. I'm not saying that this is on the 9, not at all, but you could tell that the 9 had a shallow entry, was not wanting to let the 18 get underneath him. He comes down the track to almost try to, I'd say, discourage the 18 from trying to make this move. But, of course, the 18 did have his nose underneath, but I feel like both of these drivers were very tight on their entry, and you could see that this caused some issues. And, unfortunately, the 9 going to be having his day ended. I believe this is going to end our stage, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure exactly who's going to be our stage winner. I think we'll have to find out. Let's talk to Kenny Powell, see if we can find out. Kenny Powell, we got you up here in the booth. Hope we don't mind us bothering you. With that caution coming out when it did, who won our stage?
The stage winner was the winner when the caution comes out.
Okay, so that would have been, I do believe, Matt DeCiani. Okay, thank you, sir.
No problem.
And I do believe that was, if I'm not mistaken, at the time of the caution. I do believe that was Matt DeCiani. Let's go ahead and grab him up. Matt DeCiani, we got you here in the booth.
Yeah, I got you guys.
Seems like you won the stage. We had to make sure.
Yep,
How
I
are
did.
feeling tonight? I know you ain't got a lot of time, but can we give you any shout-outs for your stage win?
Yeah, just thanks to you guys for calling the race, Kenny for putting on the league, Team Conti for the setups, and, my teammates.
All right, well, hopefully we get a chance to talk to you a little bit more. I know you guys are getting ready to go back green. We didn't have a whole lot of time to talk to you. We were kind of trying to figure out what happened in that accident, but good luck, Matt.
Yep, thanks.
Alrighty, that was Matt DeCiani, driver of the one machine. He's going to be restarting in third place here as Darren Mullins, I do believe, stayed out. So we'll see how that plays out. Green flag is back out in the air here. And Darren definitely not as quick as everybody else. Goes high, trying to get out of the way here of the field. As he goes really high, you can tell that race car is very tight at the moment as DeCiani tries to reclaim the lead. Stage 2, of course, will end, I do believe, on lap 90 going to 91. As we have battling. Oh, there goes Jeremy Sumter sideways in front of the field. Goes another caution. And this caution, I do believe, possibly off of the front nose of Josh Schaffner. Let's take another look at this. See if we can see exactly what happened here. Let's see, you see, of course, Sumter trying to race right there. And yeah, just Sumter came down. Sumter, unfortunately, came down on the 50, and I just don't think Jeremy knew that there was a car underneath him at the time. Because Josh just had the run and then got underneath the 50, or 52, I should say, of Jeremy Sumter. And the door just, Sumter tried to close the door, but unfortunately Schaffner was already underneath him. That's unfortunate. So we'll have to see what the damage looks like for Sumter. Looks like Sumter has taken it to pit road. See if he's going to get some repairs done. I don't think the damage should be too severe. We'll have to wait and see how that, from what I'm seeing, the car doesn't look too bad. I would assume Josh Schaffner probably okay, but why don't we go ahead and take this opportunity. We didn't get an opportunity to take a commercial break before, so let's take one now. We'll be right back.
You went, you served, and forged the relationships that only being baptized in the fire of combat can develop. At FallInVeteran.com, we understand the unique bond that veterans share. That's why we've created a platform where you can connect, share experiences, and build lifelong friendships with fellow veterans. Signing up is easy. Simply visit www.fall-in-veteran.com and create your profile. Customize it to reflect your military service interests and hobbies. FallInVeteran.com is more than just an online community. It's a support network where you can find resources, advice, and encouragement from those who understand what you've been through. Whether you're looking for camaraderie, mentorship, or simply a place to share your stories, FallInVeteran.com has it all. Join thousands of veterans who have already found their tribe and start connecting today. FallInVeteran.com. Come join us and experience the power of community. Sign up now at www.fall-in-veteran.com.
It's O-Rewards Member Appreciation Month at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Stop in today and check out store-wide savings, plus earn double points on over 225 items. It's our way of saying thank you. If you're not already a member, sign up today during O-Rewards Member...
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the ISCA Super Cup Series here as we're at Phoenix Raceway. It has been quite a dramatic race here. We've had several cautions. We've had several race cars that have been destroyed. This might as well be called the Phoenix Junkyard. But here comes the pace car down pit road, and I do believe I've heard from my producer we're going to actually have a special guest commentator that's going to jump in here. And it's not a commentator. We're going to have a commentator. That was probably a stupid joke, but it's okay. I'm in here by myself. I'm going crazy. Darren Mullins in the lead on 14-lap old tires. Matt DeCiani on 7-lap old tires. Green flag is back out in the air. And you can see Darren just not feeling confident, I don't believe. I don't know why he keeps going high like that. But he is still, right now, possibly in the lead. Heitman, though, making a big move to the inside, as well as you see Matt DeCiani following behind the 76. Josh Schaffner trying to hold off Randy Mullins, as well as Patrick Gitter, who has entered the fray. Patrick Gitter looking really, really fast right now in that 21. We were wondering when the 21 would show up, and it looks like he is here now. As essentially right now is between Paradigm and Team Conti. As you can see, Derek Heitman, Matt DeCiani, and Patrick Gitter are all Team Conti drivers, while, of course, I do believe Josh Schaffner, Randy Mullins, Chris Johnson, and Brian Johnson, all Paradigm drivers. This is essentially what's going on here in the top 10. As we're coming up, I do believe 40 laps to go in stage number 2. So a little bit of a longer stage here. As here comes the battle. Darren Mullins trying to hold off Matt DeCiani. And so far, so good. But here comes DeCiani to the inside for second place. And I think DeCiani is possibly going to be able to make this pass stick, as you see the 50 of Josh Schaffner trying to work his way through the field. Schaffner has been running in the top 5 pretty much all day long. And there goes DeCiani, able to get, oh, he almost got clear of the 64. I think he's going to get clear now out of turn number 4, or should I say turn 2. This track always confuses me with the changing turns. They used to be 1 and 2, now they're 3 and 4. But Derek Heitman running away. He's got about a half a second lead right now. That's Patrick Gitter. Here comes Patrick Gitter to the inside. He's going to make his way up into the top 3. Looks like we have a Team Conti 1, 2, 3 right now. Derek Heitman, Matt DeCiani, Patrick Gitter. And here comes Josh Schaffner. He's going to try to see if he can't possibly get by the 64 as well. And this is really showing me, this is telling me that tires do matter as we see the 64 go high. As Josh Schaffner is going to try to see if he can't make the pass for 5th place. As you can see, they're side by side. Producer, we're going to look at the 5th place battle there. We got a battle going on for 5th place. That is Darren Mullins. There we are. So we got the 50 trying to struggle to get by the 64. The 64 of Darren Mullins, even though he's on older tires, he is just fast enough to be aggravating to pass. As you can clearly see, and it's kind of backing up the rest of the field in a lot of ways. You can see, oh, there goes Josh. He's able to get that pass completed. He's now up to 4th place. Now Randy Mullins has got to try to work his way by. A little bit of a tag on the wall there from, I do believe, Randy Mullins. Tell you one driver that's actually really fast here tonight seems to be Tanner Marty. He's up in the 8th place position in that 72. I know he struggled at other racetracks, but it looks like Phoenix is a track that seems to be suiting him. Oh, sounds like we got somebody jumping in to help. A little bit of a guest commentator, Brandon Pasalacqua. Isn't that something? Brandon, how you doing?
Good, Brian. How are you?
Doing good, man. This has been an interesting show, to say the least. I'm sure it's been an interesting show from your perspective as well.
Yes, sir. Yeah, no, Phoenix is a fun track. Once we get settled in here and get some green flag running in, you start to see some cars start making their way towards the front while some other guys will fall back. So it's good to see that we have a green flag run going on here now.
Yeah, 100%. And we appreciate you joining up here. I know Big Al's not here this week, so it definitely helps me and rest my voice a little bit
Sure.
popping up in here. And you see Randy Mullins, of course, battling with the 64. Tell us how hard it is to pass here. It seems like it's hard to pass Darren Mullins, even though he's on older tires.
Yeah, it's super hard to pass anywhere here, but particularly in 1 and 2, when you're on the inside, you just can't get the. I mean, you can get the car to rotate, but it kind of over rotates when you're on the inside. So everybody has to be kind of careful when passing on the inside. And although the 64 is on 2 tires, it's just too difficult to have stability on exit out of 2. So that's why you see the guys having a little bit of trouble, but looks like they just have to be patient and should be able to get by them.
Now, I know you were involved in the crash, in a crash earlier today. What happened in your eyes? I mean, it just seems like Phoenix, tough track. As we see the 56 get really tight on the side of the 72 of Tanner Marty.
Yeah, no, it's a lack. I think this week, with it being week 13, there really wasn't a lot of opportunity for everybody to practice much. As you see Tanner Marty having a good run there on the 64, batting with the 56. Just so you see some accidents happen that you wouldn't normally see just because not everybody has the practice. So unfortunately on lap 1, I believe David Santini just got loose on the apron there in the dog leg, which is easy to do here. I actually did it in an AI race this morning, so I learned that the hard way. So it's racing when you have these bigger fields. Accidents like that happens, and all you can do is look forward to the next race.
Yeah, 100%. And one thing you even just mentioned, that you don't have that resource that you have the A Opens that you could usually race, every day of the week. But now you just have really NIS to practice with, so it's good to see you using that AI. And also, I'd like to talk about shifting. It seems like a lot of the setups this week have been utilizing those gears, 4th to 5th, or what is your guys' strategy been in Paradigm?
Yeah, for sure. We're all over the board. We never run the same setup, as we have a good battle for lead here between DeCiani and Heitman. Looks like DeCiani is putting pressure on that 76 car, but beginning of the week, we weren't shifting at all. And then there was the update, and it messed up the gear ratio. So I just stuck with whatever the update gave me, so I was shifting into 1, right or wrong. So you'll see, guys, I'd rather not shift just because it helps with consistency over in the lap times. But you might lose a little bit of speed on entry. So it's just driver preference. So you'll see throughout the field guys doing different things for sure.
Yeah, 100%, as they are still battling. I do believe Derek Heitman up front trying to keep this lead as he, of course, is battling with Matt DeCiani. I do believe last time by Heitman was a little bit faster. How important do you think clean air is at this racetrack? Do you think Heitman's going to benefit from that?
Yeah, it depends on how fast he's, it depends on how hard he's pushing. If I know Derek and Matt, they're probably both really happy with riding where they're at. Clean air is better. If you're the trailing car and you're pushing your car to try to make that pass, you will burn your tires off. And then after about lap 25, 30, you'll start to lose grip on exit for sure. So I believe, DeCiani and Derek are both phenomenal drivers and are super smart and talented. So I'd imagine they're both just biding their time and waiting until towards the end of the stage before they start really racing.
Yeah, and that's definitely going to be very, very important. We talk about it week in and week out, how important stage points really are in the ISCA. A lot of times they are more important than a stage or than the race win itself. I mean, is that something that as a team Paradigm prioritizes?
Yeah, well, we just we try to prioritize, just having good long run pace. You would most of our run should be between 30 and 45 laps. If you split that last stage in half, so we try to be good throughout the entirety of the run. But like you said, stage points are so important. I mean, the other week, I finished 4th, which is a great finish. I'll take it, especially in this competitive field. But I had very little stage points, so I didn't get many points altogether. So stage points are super important, and you really have to do everything you can to maximize those. I think Mark Sanchez did a wonderful job at Vegas last week, taking 4 tires midway through the stage and getting a stage win.
Yeah, 100%. That actually helped them out quite a bit when it came to points, I do believe. But let's take a look. We got a battle, or we got some guys that are kind of getting a little bit of handling woes. That's the sixth place position, 72 of Tanner Marty. He's having some issues starting to touch the wall a little bit, as, of course, the 56 of Chris Johnson trails him. Now, one of the big movers, of course, the biggest mover, I think, so far has been Patrick Gitter, who started 26th and is now running up in 3rd. But another one of the big movers is Brian Johnson, who started 25th. And he's up in 8th. He started to get closer and closer to that, the back end of the 56. What do you think about Brian Johnson? I mean, he was so good last week at Vegas. He was really one of the only drivers that could keep up with Heitman and DeCiani.
Yeah, for sure. Brian's a great talent, for sure. He actually didn't get much practice this week. He was out of town, and he barely made the race with 5 minutes to go. So he was nervous starting the race, but, Brian's a smart driver, a talented driver, and it was just a matter of biding his time and staying out of trouble in the early running. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the top 5 by the time this thing ends. And, yeah, and Patrick Gitter, too. He started at 26, and he's up to 3rd right now, I believe, and you know that you weren't going to be able to keep him in the back of the pack for very long. And to be honest with you, it's pretty remarkable to be able to get from, 26th, 25th starting position between Patrick and Brian to be up in the top, 5 and 10, with just only so many laps into the race. So they've done a great job, and I'm sure they'll continue to move up the ladder.
What makes it even more impressive, I'd say, is probably the fact that they dodged the moving landmines that were those crashes earlier in this race. I mean, that was
Yeah.
a lot of.
Yeah.
I mean, you could attest yourself. You didn't miss one
Yeah.
of them. You got in there.
Right. Yeah.
So
I think.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of these guys that not as lucky. But Patrick Gitter, I think he got to think he's reigning champion. Guy won a championship last season. I mean, he's clearly proven that he's one of the best drivers in this field, and he's running down that top two right now. I mean, looking at his lap times, he's faster than both of his Team Conti competitors. So last time by, I think he was just about 300ths faster than DeCiani. So he might come up here and challenge even for the lead. Always been a good long-run driver, Gitter has been.
I mean, dang, he's a good short run, medium run, long run, super long driver. Patrick is great, and it's good to have people like him in the league because you get to learn from him. You get to have someone that kind of sets the standard and how you run races. He's super clean, and he races hard, but it's all respectful, and it's fun racing. And we have 19, 18 left in the stage, so Patrick's probably been biding his time and trying to save his car for as much as he can, and now try to go make a run for those 2 leaders. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do if and when he gets there.
I'll tell you one driver that's been really, really good on the long run, always has been. It's been Josh Schaffner in that 50 car. We've always talked about how he's the ice man. He's always a guy that conserves his equipment, and I think he's doing exactly that right now. Last time by, he was one of the fastest cars in the top 10. Of course, he's got 1.2 seconds to get up to Patrick Gitter. I do believe we got another guest joining me in the booth, so we're going to have ourselves a party up here in the broadcast. I was by myself, and then everybody's like, I got to come in here and join Brian. Aiden Schultz up here in the booth. Aiden, how are you? Okay, good. Thanks for talking.
No,
Aiden,
sorry,
there.
my end just had a little bit of a dropout. Brian, good evening, mate. Sorry, have you got a copy?
Yes, I do. Thanks for joining us here in the ISCA. I know it's your first time seeing this. Maybe not your first time seeing this league, but definitely your first time calling in this broadcast. We're glad to have you. How are you liking it so far? What have you seen so far? Who you like?
Literally jumped on 4 laps ago. Kobe reached out and said, would you like to lend a hand? So here I am, and done plenty of laps at Phoenix and in this car as well. So nothing new to me, this car and track combination, being an Australian too. So, but Phoenix definitely a good track. What do I see of the race so far? From what I can see from you guys, all I've taken out of it is Ducani's doing well in second, and apparently Gitter's one to look out for in third at the moment, running down. So that's about as far as I've got into it at the moment. But I'm sure I've got another 90, nearly 100 laps or more, 120 laps to get my head around it here.
100%, and of course we do have a battle going on for 6th place. Tanner Marty having a tough time, hands full with Brian Johnson, as we now have, I do believe, less than 15 laps to go in stage number 2. They're side by side right there. You see Brian Johnson, I do believe, using that higher side. Ooh, a little bit of a wiggle there for the 72. How do the tires feel at this point, you think, Brandon?
Yeah, so this is the point in the run where whether it's setup or maybe just not driving the correct line really comes into play here. You start to see some bill handling cars this late into the run. So, you want to try making that pass on the outside if you can in turn 1 and 2, so you can get the drive off of 2. So you see the 4 and the 56 were able to do that with Tanner. But, I mean, what a great run by Tanner in 8th place. It's good to see drivers, depending on the racetrack, people have different strengths. So the 72 car is having a hell of a run, and he just has to hold on here for 13 more laps, get some stage points.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the key here. Get some stage points. Tanner Marty in the 72, very fast on the short run. One thing I'm noticing, though, is the numbers aren't adding up when it comes to the long run, though, for a lot of these drivers. I mean, look at the lap time fall off here, over a second. Just for an example, I hate to pick on Tanner Marty, but his fastest lap, 27.520. Right now, he's hitting 28.5s, so that is a second of fall off, and that's throughout the field. I mean, Heitman, best lap, 27.285. Last lap, 28.387. So that is over a second of fall off, and that makes me really concerned about this final stage.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And to be honest with you, the hotter the track gets, the more fall off there is what I experienced this week. So. We have a relatively, mild track at 94 degrees, but you definitely see that fall off. I mean, the cooler track, anything below 90, that fall off maybe shrinks to maybe 0.8, and not necessarily a second or 1.1 seconds. But I believe here in this final stage, you'll have a little bit less fall off with more grip in the track and more track usage. But nonetheless, I mean, again, you had to be good for the entirety of the run, especially when it comes to that last stage. So you'll see a lot of comers and goers there as well. But I do think you see a lot of the drivers, cream of the crop, moving up towards the field here.
Yeah, we've got a lot of lap traffic on the racetrack right now. As you can see, I do believe Paul Olson getting put in a lap down. We just saw Jeffrey Ford as well go a lap down. So this is kind of the bad thing about it. Snake's eating his tail. A lot of drivers going to be trying to fight to stay on this lead lap. Paul Olson right now, I do believe, is in the lucky dog position as we now have, I do believe, 10 laps to go in stage 2. Caution flag will be flying here. Not long now. I think the green flag is starting to fly pretty well here. It's unfortunate that you're sitting up here, Brandon, with us.
I hear you. I mean, that's half the battle. Like we put a lot of emphasis on qualifying well too, because the further up you start, the less chance of something bad happens. So tonight was just one of those things where I was in the wrong spot at the wrong time, and that's racing for you. It's got a great way of keeping you humble, but the beginning of the race is always hectic, and you're just waiting to get to a point like this where you get a chance to settle in, and the drivers have done a great job.
100%. Now, Aiden, what have been your experiences with tracks like Phoenix? I know you have, I've seen you in many, many leagues and things like that, and you're kind of a person that a lot of people know here in iRacing. Is Phoenix a track that you're comfortable with?
Yeah, one of my favourites actually, Brian. I really like it. I preferred it before they moved the start-finish line. Not that the track changed, but it changes the way that your mind. I think it took me about 6 months to even pick up that it changed where the start-finish line was to keep remembering it. But love Phoenix, and just to touch on what Brandon said, and good evening to you too, Brandon. I didn't say that before. Through turns 1 and 2 there, they were using it pretty low, but that sort of mid to high line is really good for a long run, and you can get a really good run around the outside and carry that speed and momentum. But what you find on a longer run here is they're only 6 laps down from finishing this second to last stage, is through that 3 and 4 section there. It can tend to get really tight through the mid and push up high on the exit. So managing, I'm not sure if this is fixed or open, but if it is open setup, managing the aggression there on the front to keep it rotating, as opposed to obviously getting it too much tyre wear and creating the push over a long run, because you said it's a second drop. It can go to a 1.5 seconds on a longer run. We'll probably see that as we transition into the third stage of this race. So all those things and factors that they can do, also little changes within the car during the race that you can do as well. A change on your brake bias a little bit can sometimes help rotate the car as the fuel comes out of the car. So many different things for these drivers to adapt to as they go on. The track as a whole, though, creates great racing, and also the decision, I don't know if it's in the rule set for this one, but the decision on whether to cut down under the dog leg or not, I've found in some leagues and they are there. So there you go. That can create some drama as well in the early stages. I'm not sure if you saw any of that as well.
It already has.
Re-entering. So a great track creates great racing, and it's definitely anyone's now with, I think, 97, 98 to go. This last stage is going to be interesting, and whether they come in and make some changes, obviously they're going to take tyres and everything. The track is heating up, I believe, from what Brandon said. So that's going to play a big part in it as well. I don't have any live timing, and I can see the overlay up there. Thanks, Kobe. So lots to play out, pretty much what Brandon said. But who can manage their car? It looks like they're going to be pretty good in this final stage. Who can manage their car over the distance is pretty much going to be the one that comes out on top.
I'll tell you who seems to be managing their car the best right now as we're coming up to 2 laps to go here in stage number 2. Josh Schaffner has come alive all of a sudden. 28.456 last time by. He's a 10th faster than everybody around him, Brandon. Look at him go.
Yeah, I don't want to ruin his thunder here, but I'm going to take some credit. We did a lot of practice together, and we found out a little bit of a line that we thought would be good on the long run. But all joking aside, we call him the Iceman for a reason. He is super patient during the race and making sure he doesn't overdrive any corners or on exits. So it's good to see him making his way to the front here. Don't think he's going to have enough time to pass DeCiani, but, I mean, that's a hell of a job for a long run we just had.
Yeah, I mean, you don't pass Patrick Gitter, without being fast. Patrick is not someone that's going to lay over and let you pass him. And he might even get DeCiani here. I don't know. It's last lap. I don't know. I don't think he's going to get him, but he's definitely running him down. I mean, look at the lap time Schaffner's hitting right now. as we get ready to cross the start-finish line. Derek Heitman wins, I do believe, stage number 2. Caution flag is out. Matt DeCiani, of course, after winning stage 1, will finish second in stage 2. Josh Schaffner gets some really great points. He's been getting points all day so far. He finishes 3rd. Patrick Gitter 4th. Randy Mullins in 5th. Chris Johnson 6th. Brian Johnson 7th. Tanner Marty has been very consistent here today. 8th place. Darren Mullins, after his pit call on 2 tires, gets 8th. That's actually pretty impressive. 10th, Alexander Carr. So good points there coming from everybody in the top 10. We're going to take a brief step away. We'll come right back and we'll talk to our stage 2 winner.
Timing, so just bear with me.
That's all right, man. You're doing fine. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the ISCA Super Cup Series here at Phoenix Raceway. As you can see, we're looking on at Derek Heitman. We're going to wait for him to get his pit stop completed here, unlike what we did, Brandon. I think last week we didn't let you get yours finished, did we?
That's all right. No, but that's all right.
Well, we're going to talk to Derek here in a moment. Yeah. We're going to make sure that he gets his pit stop completed before we talk to him so we don't ruin his stop. And I do believe he's coming off of pit road right now. Well, once he gets past the timings thing, and I think we're good now, so we'll go ahead and pull him in. Derek Heitman up here in the booth. We're going to let Brandon take this one. Brandon, you're standing by with our stage 2 winner.
Hey, Derek, how's it going out there, brother?
Oh my gosh, is this a porn star broadcaster? What's going on, buddy?
Hey, man, hey, what's it take to keep that car out front, and are you just setting your own pace, or how's it going out there?
Really just setting my own pace. I drove it a little hard to try to get the lead, but after that, it's just clean sailing, man. I'm just running my line, hitting my marks, in and out of the corner as smooth as possible, and away we go.
For sure. Now, what's your game plan on this, stage 3? Obviously, it being on, the longest stage of the night and probably have to split the last stage in terms of pitting. What's your game plan there, if you don't mind telling us a little bit of what you got planned?
I honestly don't know yet. I'm just gonna, I'm dead serious. I have no clue. I'm just going to be paying attention to what the guys are doing behind me. I'm probably going to see, when they decide to pit, and when they pit, I'll pit, So I'm just going to, try to play the strat of race the people that I'm around.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, has tire wear been a big issue for you this week practicing or during the race so far?
I skipped the race last night just because I figured it was going to be a crapshoot since there was no A opens this week, and I watched it on a stream, and it definitely looked like I made the right decision. So, as far as practice laps goes, I'm wearing a little tight. I wish I could figure out how to get this thing to wear looser, but my last name's not Connie. So I'm just doing the best I can with it.
Nope, I hear you. I know. I think last time we were here, or in the spring last year, you were able to win. So I have no doubt that you can do it again. So good luck the rest of the way.
Thanks, man.
Good luck. Bye bye.
Alrighty, that was Derek Heitman, driver of the 76 machine. He's still up in the front. Let's see what he can do here on this final stage. And definitely excited to see how this all plays out. I mean, this is when the real race begins. Even though the stage points are so incredibly important when it comes to putting together a championship season, this is when the memories are made. I mean, Brandon, nobody remembers stage winners. Everybody remembers who won the race.
Darn right. Yeah, I mean, winning the race in this league is, that's a huge accomplishment. I think you said it last week, most of us are, we're not professionals. You could probably argue that Heitman, DeCiani, and Gitter are close to it, but to win a race in ISCA is meaningful, so we'll see you'll be able to pull it off tonight.
I mean, you can see the guy that's up in first right now, 6,600 I rating. I mean, that's a high rating. Patrick Gitter, almost 7,000. I mean, these guys have a ton of I rating between them. As the green flag flies once again here in the ISCA Super Cup Series at Phoenix Raceway, Derek Heitman with a good restart. Now, I saw earlier where DeCiani chose the top, and that actually seemed to be a better start than what Heitman just pulled off. There might be something to that as we see everybody single file in the top 5. Chris Johnson, of course, trying to hold off Tanner Marty. Marty was really fast on the short run. Can he make something happen here? Well, there goes problems to 56 of Chris Johnson around. That is going to bring out the caution flag as Johnson plummets through the field. As we take a look back at this, the 56, I do believe, as you can see right here, I think we're watching, yeah, here's the 56, taking a little bit of a chase camera here as he follows his brother Brian Johnson. Let's see exactly what happened here. I think this might be a little bit early. I think we might need to, I don't think this is exactly when this accident happened. I think this was not quite sure. So yeah, this is probably better. We'll just go back to the beginning and see if we can't find right here. Okay, there it is. So do believe that is Tanner Marty in the 72. I think let's go ahead and see exactly what happened. Oh, well, I don't know why we're watching Mark Sanchez. Let's go.
That's our Daytona 500 winner right there.
Yeah, he is very much. He deserves a lot of credit, but we're not watching him right now. Are we? We're looking for the 56 of Chris Johnson. Here we are. It looks like some contact. They kind of got connected there. And then suddenly the 56, I guess, just, well, you know, I've seen it a lot. And Brandon, you might even be able to touch on this. Running up higher up there, usually you'd be say, okay, it's treacherous to take the dog leg. But it seems just as treacherous to drive higher up there.
Well, what's tough in this scenario, right? They're on cold tires. The cars aren't turning as well, and I'd bet any amount of money that the 56 has a ton of wheel into it to get it to not hit the wall, and that's when you get the push loose feeling in these cars. And once it goes, and I think that's a prime example of it.
Yeah, I think Brian Johnson, probably not a whole lot of damage there on his race car, but the 56, I think, might have touched the inside wall. He's going to definitely be wanting to get some of that repaired. So that's unfortunate. Chris Johnson had been up in the top 10 quite a bit. And I know he had an unfortunate week last week at Vegas as well. You know what's really bad is, I got to be honest, towards the end of last season, Brandon, you could probably even attest to this, Chris was looking strong. And it just seems like this season's not as strong for him.
Yeah, so I was going to irritate at the end of last season because Chris is he's got such raw talent when it comes to driving a race car. And, you know, it only takes him, I don't know, 100 laps to figure out a track where I put in anywhere from 500 to 1,000 before a race to figure it out. And he can just figure it out really quickly. So he came on super strong at the end of last year. I have no doubt that he'll do it again this year. It's been a rough go for him between Daytona and Atlanta, and unfortunately, him in the 50 got caught up last weekend. So, yeah, that's racing for you. Hopefully, he can turn around here, get a decent finish tonight, and then you got a whole season ahead of him.
100%. Now, looking at let's take a look at the drivers that are kind of out of the race right now. Although Frank Flores, I do believe, still in the race. He's 2 laps down in 21st. Jeremy Sumter, I do believe, just made his exit in 22nd. Mark Sanchez, 11 laps down. We were looking at our Daytona winner just a moment ago. He's actually 11 laps down, but still running, I do believe. So good for him. He might get some positions as a result of the late quitters. I believe Kenneth Bartholomew, he's 16 laps down, but he is still running. Also, Paul Olson's out of the race car in 25th. Tim Wortman Jr. didn't see a whole lot of him. He's in 26th out of the race car, 45 laps down. J.C. Evans, he had, I do believe, a blown motor. He's 63 laps down. Brandon Pasalacqua, 91 laps down. Brandon, I'm sorry. Pace car lights are out, though, and man, I tell you, I think we've had the most DNFs tonight, probably out of the whole season.
I will. It is different, you know. Kenny has done such a phenomenal job putting this league together, and he has for years. And this year, particularly, you know, we have the largest car count. It's a different style of racing with more cars, right? You can't make those mistakes because you lose so many points, and it's unfortunate when drivers have accidents at the beginning of the race. So, I think the field needs to get used to driving with this many cars and having not as much room. And I think once we get the season going, we'll all get much better at it. So here we go.
Here we go, getting ready to enter the Geico restart zone as we have, I do believe, 94 laps to go. Green flag back out in the air, and Derek Heitman up through the gears as here comes Josh Schaffner. I think the one that I'm putting my money on is the 50, but here comes Patrick Gitter. We're going to try to wrap around the top here to see if he can possibly get this third place position away from the 50. Randy Mullins as well looking fast. He's up in the top 5. As we see, I do believe the 64 of Darren Mullins trying to battle with Alexander Carr. Carr up to 7th. This might be one of his best races, the 18. Aiden, what you thinking so far? Who you liking?
Yeah, I'd have to go on the Schaffner train as well, I think. After watching that last section of the race, he had really, really good long-run speed. So I think expect Heitman and the likes to take off a little bit in the front now early on in this stage. But then if Schaffner does what he did in that last stage, he's going to be there or thereabouts at the end. He had real good run pace. It's just whether he gets caught into this front running pace at the moment. So time will tell, but I'm definitely on him at the moment as well.
I 100% agree. And one thing we should note, no one pitted, or not a lot of people pitted on that last stop. So we're about 11 laps into the fuel window right now. So, and of course, if we look back at the fuel window that's projected for this race, 93 laps, no one is going to be able to make it on fuel right now if we go green to the end here. This is going to be very, very curious to see how this all plays out when it comes to gas. Now, I do think we'll have a caution that'll probably make it not as much of a factor. But Brandon, if you had to go green from here and you had to pit, what do you do?
Yeah, and I'm probably giving away too many of my secrets up here, which probably doesn't mean a whole lot because I'm not the greatest driver. But I'd probably just split it down the middle from this point forward. I'm a firm believer in just getting the most out of your tires for a certain stint. So for me, obviously you can go 93 laps on a tank of fuel. I'm not ever going to go 93 laps on a tank of fuel here. I'm going to split whatever distance is remaining down the middle. However, as Heitman alluded to when we interviewed him after winning stage 2, you kind of got to just race the people you're around. So if you're Heitman, DeCiani, Gitter, and Schaffner, you're waiting until the car right behind you pits. If they undercut you, They might be able to pass you, but you have to race who's near you. So that could either be way sooner than you anticipated or way later. If I know this field, I think everybody's going to start pinning at the halfway mark between the laps now and the end of the race, and then you'll start to see the floodgates open.
Yeah, no, I think I agree. I mean, thinking about this as well, I mean, Aiden even mentioned it about the second and a half of fall off that could potentially happen here. If that's the case, I mean, if somebody short pits you, you're going to have to answer that immediately because that's the second and a half you've lost because of the faster lap that person's able to turn. So that makes it incredibly important. But also, I think it's an incredibly, I've said incredibly twice, like very in quick succession. I feel a little bit weird about that. But it's a big decision to pit here, considering the pit road is a whole straightaway, and then you have a corner or two, I do believe, that you have to file down. So that's a lot of time that you're giving up.
And not only is it a lot of time, right? We've had a race that's had a good amount of cautions. You would hate to come down pit road while everybody else is coming down pit road. And one of those drivers that comes down pit road spins it out and comes back up onto the track, and now you have a caution, and you can unfortunately go a lap down. If the pace car comes out at the wrong time, you can go a lap down. So if I was out there driving still, I'd probably wait until the guy directly behind me pits, just to avoid the opportunity of getting caught a lap down if a caution came out at the wrong time. And we're still so early in the season, points are everything. So if you're having a good run, probably don't want to jeopardize that with an ill-timed caution while you're pitting.
And here we go. The battle is on for third, and it didn't look like much of a battle at all. Josh Schaffner able to make the pass there for third place. Gitter into the wall a little bit there. What's going on here with Patrick Gitter? Do you think he's just letting the 50 go, or is he maybe trying to take a page out of the 50s book and save a little tire?
I'll actually jump in there, Brian. I did see Gitter just a couple of laps ago. He scraped the wall coming down the back straight into 3 and 4, so that was his second time of having a little bit of an altercation with the wall. So he might, as much as his car looks pretty good, he might be struggling a little bit just from a couple of scrapes. Probably a little bit too early to tell at the moment, but he has had 2 little rubs.
That's definitely interesting, thing to bring up to us here. I mean, thinking about this, I mean, we've had an update recently. Of course, I do believe it was like a month or so ago to where they made these next-gen cars a little bit more vulnerable to damage. Brandon, has that been something that has affected you in your campaign here this season?
Not until tonight. I was good until tonight. When we were at, I believe it was Atlanta, when I got a 4th place, which I should never have gotten. I should have been out of the race way earlier. I had tremendous impact with someone and probably should have blown an engine and not been allowed back in the race, but I only had 50 seconds of repairs and I was good to go. However, tonight I thought a little tap at the beginning of the race with the car that's been out in front of me, and that was 3 minutes required right off the bat. So it depends on how the car hits and what kind of accident that occurs. So yeah, I'm not totally sold on whether and how the damage model works, but the goal at the end of the day is just to never be in an accident.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I just know that because I mean, I know that when these next gens were originally released, they were tanks. And they seem to have very much weakened them quite significantly. So we got a big moment there for the 64 of Darren Mullins, as he, of course, got passed by Tanner Marty and Alexander Carr. So it definitely seems that Darren maybe not doing too hot when it comes to the handling department. Greg Wachinski is going to try to catch up there and maybe get some positions. Greg Wachinski, the 5 machine, he's been slowly but surely working his way through the field, right on the edge of the top 10 in that, I do believe, Baltimore, Maryland's race car, I do believe.
And
I don't
he's
know.
done a great job.
14, right? I don't know.
Yeah, the Baltimore. Yeah, the Orioles. Yeah, he's done a great job. Yep. He's done a great job coming through the field too. I mean, he started 21st, and he didn't, run up through the field like Gitter and Brian did, but this is a long race, and Greg has done a wonderful job, and he's a great driver to get himself in position for a top 10 finish, and yeah, I'm sure he'll continue his way up to the front.
One driver I'm very surprised at is probably the 12 of Miller Bonds. Miller Bonds showed up here, qualified on the pole. I think that was his first pole this season, and he's back in 15th. Has just not been able to get right, I think, all race long. What are your thoughts on that, Brandon?
Yeah, it's super well. Okay, so it's tough when you drive maybe for particular setup shops, right? And there's not a open to understand kind of where your setup is to the rest of the shops out there. So I'm not going to speak for Miller, but who knows how that car handles for him right now. But it's just not working out. So it could just be a combination of that, or maybe he got into some trouble earlier. But I mean this track is super temperamental, and you have to really be patient in how you drive the car, and it could be a chance that he overdrove it, but Miller's a really great driver, so it is peculiar to see him back there in 15th, but dang, he put down one heck of a qualifying time. When I saw that go up on the board, I was like, well, I could never compete with that, so I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a good finish out of this at the end of the day.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't be surprised either. It just seems like, I think that just shows the discrepancy when it comes to qualifying versus race pace. You can, we see it even in NASCAR every Sunday. You see somebody that's able to qualify extremely well, but they're not able to race as well. So I think that might have something to do with it as well. So, and you even mentioned it, the temperamental nature of the track. We didn't. ISCA is one of these series is that even though you might race the officials all the time, that week, if you show up in the ISCA, it's going to be completely different than what you dealt with in the A Open.
Completely different. We have the 2 times acceleration, which I like because we don't run full length, so we get the experience of, as if we ran a full length race, like the NASCAR guys do. And you really need to have a car that's able to handle, a low track usage at the beginning of the day. And different track temperature versus a high track usage at the end at a lower track temp. So as we dropped 7 degrees in track temp since the beginning of the race now, so I think you're going to see the lap times to
we got problems. Sorry to interrupt you. Blair Holloman quickly dipping down pit road. Something I think just happened with the 10. I'm gonna see if I can investigate.
Yeah, so it looks like he got slide loose on the entry of turn 1, which is easy to do.
No caution, but he's missing his front end. Ooh, yeah, this is going to be something we're going to want to watch back. The 10 of Blair Holloman smashes his front end here.
And this is easy to do.
Unfortunately, no caution.
This is easy to do once you get some laps on your tires, depending on how hard you're driving the car. This is the reason why I disregarded some setups this week, was because I got this feeling in them and I hated it. And unfortunately for Blair, it was just too much.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I think we had an issue finding the particular incident, though. But just trust me, his front end is missing, and he is out of the race now. Look at the top 10. Derek Heitman up in the lead still, as he is followed by teammate Matt DeCiani, who's in second place. Josh Schaffner is in third. Of course, fourth place, Patrick Gitter. He's been under tremendous pressure from Randy Mullins, who Mullins is a new driver to the Paradigm Group. We'll talk about him in a moment. Tanner Marty, of course, sits sixth. Brian Johnson, seventh. Chris Johnson, eighth. Alexander Carr, ninth. And Darren Mullins in 10th. Talking about Randy, I hate to keep asking you all the questions, Brandon, and leaving you out, Aiden, but you just know so much, Brandon, about your own team. Talk us through Randy. What was the decision like to bring him on?
Yeah, to make it a full story, we really wanted to just have a small team where we all can communicate pretty easily, and so we were Josh, Chris, Brian, and I were super adamant about just keeping the four of us. Nonetheless, Randy reached out to us at the end of last season, really wanted to run with us, and then he did the 24 hours at Daytona with us and did a phenomenal job. And we decided to extend the offer to join our team. He's been a tremendous value to us and has helped us in every way. I'm not sure if it was picked up on, but Randy was one of the faster cars at the end of last season. So just like Chris was super fast and red hot at the end of the season, Randy was equally as fast as him. So he's only getting better. I think he increased his iRating by 12 to 1,500 over the offseason. He's been working a lot at it, and he's been nothing but tremendous for us at Paradigm, helping us with feedback and understand how the car handles the different tracks. So I'm super glad to have him on his team. Plus, he invites me to help on his late model car every weekend at Hickory Motor Speedway. So that's always a plus too. And just appreciate Randy for the kind of guy he is, and
That's
glad
cool.
he's on our team.
That's really cool. Randy's a nice guy. Actually, sometimes Randy meets up. We have this little group, Facebook group, or not a Facebook, Discord group that me and Randy meet up. He's a really nice guy. Very nice, and that's cool. So you guys meet up and help him. What do you do helping out with the late model? Oh, we got problems, I should say. Tanner Marty almost just got turned by Brian Johnson. We got a little bit of action on the racetrack. I think I might have been actually watching the replay, but still, that was quite a dramatic way that Brian got by Tanner Marty here, and I don't think Tanner's going to forget it. Of course, we see the 56. What a recovery for Chris Johnson. Up to 8th place right now after he spun out and almost I think he hit the inside wall a little bit. So glad to see that 56 still up to speed. But Derek Heitman, what a dominator right now. Of course, I do believe he came into this race second place in the points. I think if he keeps it up, he might exit as the points leader. But Aiden, man, what a race we've had so far. I mean, open setup racing. Do you have a lot of experience with setting up race cars for open setups? I know you do a lot of leagues. Aiden, you read me. It seems like we might have some technical issues here with Aiden. But definitely, because I know he's definitely involved in a lot of leagues, and I wanted to speak to him and see what some of his experiences is with open setup racing. But we definitely appreciate everybody joining us here tonight for the ISCA Super Cup Series. What a race we've seen! It's been a interesting one where I think we've seen almost about everything. We've seen huge crashes. I mean, wrecks that have happened on lap number 1 that took out a lot of race cars. And we've also seen long green runs now as we see Josh Schaffner starting to move his way through the field. 28.023 last time by from him. He was faster than the top 2. But guess who was faster than him? I do believe it was Patrick Gitter. Not sure what to make of that, even though we thought I was almost getting ready to write off Patrick Gitter. But I think Patrick would probably say, why would you do that? You should never write off the 21.
I would have to agree with Patrick there. Yeah, I think Patrick was probably just biding his time. I think maybe you mentioned that he maybe got on the wall once or twice and probably realized that, hey, I don't need to be pushing this hard. We still have, at that time, about 100 laps left. So, you see him making up time now, along with the 50 on DeCiani. I wouldn't be surprised if DeCiani still has some left in the tank in terms of his pace. He might just be biding his time too, and letting Josh think that he's catching him, and maybe DeCiani will take off at some point. But I mean, we're gonna be closing in on green flag pit stops here, next 20 laps or so. So everybody's gonna try to position themselves to give themselves a good run to the finish.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see how a green flag pit stop will happen here as we see the 50 of Josh Schaffner. Now he pounces on the one machine of Matt DeCiani. Of course, DeCiani been fast all night. We'll see if he can hold off the Paradigm Motorsports driver of Josh Schaffner.
Hard pass to make here if the 50 can do it. I mean, he set it up good. If he can get a good rotation here in turn 3 and 4, it looks like DeCiani is going to give it to him. Gitter's going to try to foul. I think, Schaffner is probably grateful that DeCiani just gave it to him, this is what you see. I think a lot of people try to make a lot about teams, people competing against each other, and it's a great storyline. But ISCA has, G&G, Paradigm, Team Conti, along with a plethora of other teams as well. You got Ryko and TWRS in here. We all drive each other respectfully, and that was a perfect example with DeCiani, and that's what makes this league so fun to drive in.
Yeah, DeCiani lost a lot of time, though, with that having let Josh Schaffner and Patrick Gitter go. I mean, 28-8 last time by. That was a substantial amount of time that he had to give up in order to let those guys go, as I think the tires are starting to really wear here. So I think that'll be interesting to see green flag pit stops. But I think I love what you just said there. I agree totally. That's one thing that I love about this series is that everybody races each other with the respect. Of course, you wouldn't think that if you listen to the reviews after the end of these races. But, I mean, for the most part, I'd say everybody really does race each other with respect. Everybody wants to be the best of the best in this series. They know how much it means to win one of these races. And if you do it the wrong way, everybody's going to know it. You know what I mean? Like, you want to earn it. You want to make sure you actually earned it, that no one can put that asterisk next to your name on this win.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny, Randy and I and Josh joke a lot about Bristol last year, and we had a 20-lap shootout, and I was leading, and I knew that would have been a problem for me because Randy was ridiculously fast for 30 laps, and he said I should just put the bumper to you and got my first ISCA win, but he's like, I just can't do that. I don't want to win that way. And I think that's the way everybody attacks each of these races, and we're not professional drivers. We don't need to do bump and runs. We're respectful. We're going to see each other each week, each year, and it's just a great place to drive because of the respect factor that we all have. We don't go out there looking to ruin anybody's night. We just go out there to have good, clean, hard, fun racing. Accidents happen, of course, but you just keep on pushing and hope to keep racing. So,
yeah. Once again, I want to talk about Josh Schaffner continuing to drive down the competition. He is now about a second behind Derek Heitman. Last time by, he was 1,000th faster than, I should say, Derek Heitman. So curious, what can he do here? One thing that's another driver that's actually been turning some of the faster laps of the race is Brian Johnson. He has been last time by he was faster than I do believe the rest of the field as he's worked his way up into 5th place. I think if we have another caution, the 4 is going to be a factor.
Yeah, I agree. He's finally got that track position. Plus, he just got back from vacation, so that's worth at least a half a tenth per lap time there. He's relaxed. He's kind of cool and collected. So, plus, he's a great driver. Momentum coming from last week's win at Vegas. Yeah, I mean, again, it's going to come down to these pit stops, though. I was with Brian last week when we made those green flag pit stops against Team Conti, and he nailed it, and I didn't, and he was able to stay with them. So, it's that easy to either execute very well on pit road or not, and then be out of contention. So we'll see what happens once we have these green flag pit stops.
Well, we're going to keep the legend of Big Al alive here tonight. You pit for show, or you race for show, and you pit for dough. And what that essentially means is that you could be the fastest guy on the racetrack, but if you mess up pit road, it don't mean anything. You have to nail the entire process. Pit road is so important. You win or lose races, you become you win championships based on pit road, and that's how real life is as well. It's the same thing, of course. At least in iRacing, your pit crew can't really mess you up. It's you that messes you up.
Right. Yeah, as we see the pass for fourth place, Brian was able to get around Matt DeSantis. Matt gave it to him, and it was very respectful and a great job by both drivers. But that's 100% right. And we don't see a lot of green flag pit stops. In A opens, you get races that are like that for sure, but not a lot of drivers make it a point to maybe practice it during the week, right? So I think Al always says he always says that during the A opens, no one practices green flag pit stops. In the ISCA, we do. So, yeah, definitely whatever. Drive for show, pit for dough. That's couldn't be more true.
Yeah, Brian Johnson's really been lighting up the speed charts here the last couple laps. He has been the fastest car on the racetrack the last couple times in a row. And he's running down Patrick Gitter right now. He got by Matt DeCiani. I think DeCiani right now is struggling. It just seems like his lap times have fallen off a cliff. He's been the slowest car, I do believe, in the top 8 the last couple times by, as he, of course, is now being pounced on by Chris Johnson. Johnson last time by was a 10th faster than DeCiani. Now goes side by side. I think if we see anybody come down pit road, it might be
coming down.
Here comes Brian Johnson.
That's
right, Brian Johnson. Yeah, and we saw a lot of smoke coming off of 76. I'm hoping he didn't get a speeding penalty. A lot of aggressive stops here.
Yep, and that was a product of, right, Heitman said he was going to do what the cars around him did, and I think he was the one that led that train down pit road. So, I mean, Schofter had no choice but to follow him. He would lose lap times, and, as opposed to being a second back, he'd be out, 2-3 seconds if he didn't pit there, and the rest of the Paradigm guys came down as well.
And we got, looks like Patrick Gitter's coming down pit road. Matt DeCiani, now your leader, he has decided to stay out. Randy Mullins, I do believe, still out there. So it looks like I do believe we have a little bit of a split here. Patrick, I think that we have 3 cars that are still out on the racetrack right now. So, well, no, actually, we do have more than that, actually, I should say. So it looks like Matt DeCiani still out there, Randy Mullins, Tanner Marty, John Binder, Miller Bonds, Jay Hone, Randy Belk. So a bunch of cars still out on the racetrack, and I think they're trying to do a little bit of a different strategy here. I think that they think a caution is going to come out, and if one does come out, Matt DeCiani and Randy Mullins are going to look like geniuses.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the risk you take, going a lap down here. So yeah, that's the risk you take. So we'll see how it plays out. And if you're someone that's not battling for the win, or you're maybe on tail end of the top 10, why not try something just a little bit different? Stay out for 5 more laps and see if you can't catch some of these leaders a lap down where they have to make a wave around, and then you get fresh tires and you give it all you got for the last 40 laps. So yeah, I'd stay out a little bit longer, and they're doing a great job, and it makes it a lot more interesting for us.
No, I totally agree. Derek Heitman right now, I do believe, is the net leader as he gets around Tanner Marty. I think he is now going to be unlapping himself probably very soon, I do believe, as we see Tanner Marty comes down pit road. We do have Aiden Schultz back. Definitely glad to have him back up in the house here at ISCA. Looks like we got looks like Randy Mullins as well coming down pit road. Matt DeCiani, one of the last drivers to pit here. John Binder surges up to second place. He's about 13 seconds back from Matt DeCiani. So we got green flag pit stops here, Aiden. This is going to be interesting.
Yeah, it definitely will. Everyone seems to take the strategy there that all the same strategy about sort of halfway through that stint. So everyone's going to be on tyres all the way to the end as we see Matt now coming through pit lane. So is that Matt? Oh, no, it's not.
Yeah, that's Matt DeCiani.
Yeah, it is right. Matt, sorry. Oh, I did that without live timing. Look at that. I need a pay rise. But yeah, Matt coming through pit lane now. So that'll be one of the last of the green flag stoppers. And yeah, then we'll go to the end. It was interesting then, though, the leader, he said he was going to jump in, based off what the people were doing behind him. But I think Schaffner there in second pretty much dealt the cards for him and forced his hand, because he was closing that lead pretty drastically, and he thought before he got to him, he'd stop that, get tyres. And I think he thinks he's got the pace there on that length of run to be able to have everyone at bay if this thing goes green flag.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think Derek's got the pace right now that he could probably win this race. But Josh definitely kept him honest. I 100% think that Schaffner, if this race had came down to a longer run, I think that Schaffner would have ran down Heitman and probably would have taken the trophy. And but still, it's going to be a great points day. I mean, it's not over quite yet. That's one thing about ISCA is you got to run all the laps. Big Al always says it. You got to run all the laps. It's not over until it's over, especially I think in this season, this early in this season. I mean, we've seen things go kind of crazy. I mean, if you had said, last week at Vegas, if you had asked me, I would have said, one of the Team Conti drivers was going to win. But fortunately for Brian Johnson, a caution came out later and gave him a chance at the victory. So, I mean, you really can't predict what's going to happen. Of course, not saying Brian didn't have a chance at the victory last week, but with the way that the draft was working, Team Conti drivers seemed to be able to work together and almost box out Brian Johnson. But because of that late caution, it gave him a chance. Could something like that happen here tonight?
Yeah, there's definitely all those different scenarios, but I'm quite surprised, and this is probably a novice comment, I'm quite surprised someone didn't go out there on a different strategy, and that strategy being, I know the drop-off's a second and a half a lap, but if you could go that extra 20 laps, the guys in front of you, like if you're fighting for the lead, they go a lap down plus some, so they've got to do a whole lap and then nearly another one before they catch you again. So if you had some longer run, I'd say mid-pace, to be able to get an extra 20 laps out of it, I was thinking, would it be worth of doing, because you'd be shorter on fuel and doing outsides only and still be able to, possibly capture a couple of positions. I'm just not sure whether the drop-off was that big. The drop-off was that big, and everyone seems to have taken the opinion that Brendan did, take 4 and utilise your pace. But I thought there might have been someone that might have punted with that strategy, considering there is a chance for late cautions.
Yeah, no, it definitely could have been a strategy to maybe take a 2-tire stop or even just stay out like John Binder's doing. I think he's kind of doing that strategy right now. Last time by 28.5, so he is falling off pretty hard when it comes to his pace at the moment, but he is in the lead. So if a caution were to come out right now, he would have gained a lot of track position, considering I do believe he started towards the back of the field. I want to see exactly where he started. He started in 28th. Yep. That was 2 positions back, I do believe, or 2 positions in front of the last place driver. So this would be a huge strategy call for Binder if something were to happen here.
100%, and that's what he's banking on at the moment. He's still got a little bit to Heitman and Schaffner behind him at the moment. So now 36 laps to go. He'll be begging and praying, wishing that he sees those yellow lights come up in front of him in the safety car, but we yet to see that as we are 36 to go, but he's still leading the way. And as we go back to, I believe that is Schaffner a part of that as well. So correct me if I'm wrong. Sorry, Heitman.
Yeah, that's Derek Heitman. He's kind of cutting through some traffic right now. As you can see, he's following behind Miller Bonds at the moment. Of course, Bonds, I do believe, is not on the lead lap at the moment. So definitely things are getting interesting right now. Only 14 drivers that are on the lead lap. Now, this could be, we talk about something happening. Derek Heitman's dealing with lap traffic. Something could go wrong there. A lot of times at tracks like this is probably one of the worst tracks for lap traffic. Wouldn't you say, Brandon?
Yeah, it is, just because it's hard to pass on the bottom here in 1 and 2, and there's really only one groove in 3 and 4. So definitely it could be an issue. And talking about the battle between Heitman and Schaffner, it's a really good battle. Like Heitman's, setting a good pace and consistent at the beginning of the run, and Schaffner is kind of biding his time and waiting for the end. Well, they kind of almost meet right in the middle, right? So it's almost like that Kyle Larson and Tyler Reddick battle that we just saw at Vegas, where Larson was super quick at the beginning of the run, where Reddick will catch him. So we'll see where it falls out at the end of this. If I know Heitman well enough, I know that he thinks that he's got the good pace. If I know Schaffner well enough, I think he thinks the same thing. So it should be a good battle once we get down to it here.
And I don't even know where Brian Johnson fits in. I mean, he's a second back from Schaffner. I mean, could he catch up to Schaffner and maybe make it even more interesting? But it definitely looks like it's going to be a successful night for the Paradigm Group, as at the moment, looks like you guys are on set to possibly get 2 out of the top 3. That'd be a good night for you for sure. And Chris Johnson, what a recovery. We talked about him. He's up to 6th right now, about almost 4 seconds in front of Matt DeCiani at the moment.
Yeah, and I think DeCiani, Chris has done a phenomenal job. I wanted to bring it up earlier, but you mentioned it. That's a great recovery by him, and I'm glad that he's back up there. Now, keep in mind that DeCiani did, stay out, 5 to 7 laps longer than the rest of the lead group. So I'm sure DeCiani will cut that lead down, but nonetheless, Chris has done a good job getting back up there. I still wouldn't count Gitter out in terms of, gaining a few extra positions. You can't, like you said earlier, you should never count the 21 out. So we'll see how he does. But, it's been a good battling all day. And again, we mentioned it earlier, Alexander Carr running in 9th, Tanner Marty in 10th. Great job by those guys, having a fantastic run tonight, and it's really good to see.
Yeah, I'd say this is probably some of their best runs. I mean, Alexander Carr, he got some stage points, I do believe, in stage 2. We're watching right now is we still see Derek Heitman trying to cut through some of this traffic here. And it looks like I do believe Derek Heitman has gotten by John Binder and has now taken the lead. So now does that push Binder to go down pit road, or do you kind of stick with what you've been doing?
Run it dry at this point, like Larry Mack says. You made your bed, you got to lay in it. Just keep going.
Yeah, for sure. You're just probably hoping that he doesn't slow down Josh Schaffner, though.
Yeah, it'll be tough, and that's the one thing maybe Schaffner was hoping for, that Heitman running a little bit faster pace at the beginning of the run, which is totally fine. Maybe while setting that pace is having trouble with lap traffic, and then Josh is able to take it easy and make some time up on him. Doesn't look like that happened, but that's kind of your hope when you're having a strategy between long and middle run pace versus or short and middle run pace versus long run. So see how it shakes out.
Well, the time difference has changed a little bit here. I mean, of course, Derek Heitman was about 2 seconds out in front of Josh Schaffner. Now, that has kind of narrowed a little bit now. Schaffner has started catching up just a hair. He's got about 1.9 seconds in between now him and Derek Heitman. Brian Johnson, of course, is getting by John Binder, I do believe, as we speak here, and he's going to be moving up into the third place position. Of course, bad spot to catch John Binder right there. That's the one thing that I think is really difficult about this track and lap cars is where you catch a driver at. As you see Patrick Gitter, of course, trying to run down Brian Johnson. I think this could be a big battle between the 4 and the 21.
Yeah, I think it could be a good battle, and yeah, if they get close enough, I'm sure it'll be hard racing, respectful racing, so it'll be fun to watch for us up here in the booth. They're not too far off the 50, and the 50's not too far off Heitman, so we got battles all around the track here. And DeCiani looks like cut a second off of the 56, so it looks like he has good pace right now, which isn't a surprise there. And yeah, we'll see how it shakes out.
Yeah, definitely. But one thing I think with DeCiani, though, he seemed to be struggling on the later run. We'll see if that's going to be the case here. It's Chris Johnson, I do believe, has gotten by John Binder as well. So that's going to put Derek Heitman in the lead, Josh Schaffner second, Brian Johnson in third, Patrick Gitter fourth, Chris Johnson in fifth. That's a look at the top 5. We're going to take a quick step away, pay a little bit of attention to our sponsors. We'll be right back here with the last 20 laps here in the race.
It's O-Rewards Member Appreciation Month at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Stop in today and check out store-wide savings plus earn double points on over 225 items. It's our way of saying thank you. If you're not already a member, sign up today during O-Rewards Member Appreciation Month. It's fast, easy, and free. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the ISCA Super Cup Series at Phoenix Raceway, the O'Reilly Auto Parts 195. Things are getting a little bit heated on the racetrack here in Phoenix, Arizona. Brian Johnson, 3/10 back from Josh Schaffner. Things are definitely going to get a little hot out here, as Brian Johnson last time by was over a tenth faster than Schaffner, almost 2/10 to be exact. Can Brian possibly come up here and challenge for second place?
This is a little bit of chasing the rabbit, maybe for the 50 car, which we don't usually see. I'm trying to get Heitman, but Brian's had good pace here, so it'll be a good battle between these two.
Yeah, I was just about to mention that, gents, before we went to the quick ad break and a little bit of a break, that I was watching Johnson. I was going to say, don't be surprised if Johnson and Gitter do range up onto the back of Schaffner. We've seen Johnson do that now. It doesn't look like Gitter can go with him at the moment, though, so the battle for second's definitely spicing up now with under 20 to go.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I bet this is probably not what Schaffner wants to see. He probably was like, hey, Brian, why are you battling me? But then again, Schaffner, I think in a lot of ways, Brandon, what you said rings true. I think that Schaffner might have pushed a little too hard at the beginning of this final stint. I think he did everything perfect in the other stints of this race. But I think this one maybe pushed him to maybe drive it a little harder than he usually does.
Yeah, I agree. As we see, as you expect, teammates, the 50 let the 4 go, and, the 4 has faster pace. So we'll see what the 4 can do and see if he can't catch the leader. But, yeah, I mean, it's super tough. It's either you left too much on the table or you took too much from the table, right? So, it's a hard battle. If I was the 50, I'd be burning him down since we got out of pit road. It's tough because he was battling from the second half back, and he wasn't able to catch him on runs previous. So, that's your only chance to win. And, the 4 just biding his time. So not too surprised there, but that's a tough scenario for sure.
And he's definitely not going to let Gitter go easily here, gentlemen. We saw him down in the 3 and 4 last time. Really cut the nose off there at Gitter, and he's trying to diamond those corners a little bit more to try and stop the run. So he's not going to, now his teammate's gone up the road, he's going to protect him a little bit and try and hold on to third as much as he can with now 15 to go.
Yeah, I've definitely seen a hungry Patrick Gitter. Patrick Gitter's hungry.
Yeah, he was hungry last week when he had 4 fresh tires on that 2-lap shootout. He did a great job coming up to the field. But, piggybacking off what Aiden said, diamonding those corners, we did a lot of practice, throughout the week. And it's super tough when the car in front of you diamonds the corner because you can't go up and then cut back down to get a run because that car is going to be there in your way, whether you're in their wake and you slide up too much in the center of the corner, or they're still on the bottom when you try to get that straight exit off. So it makes it a tough pass, but nonetheless, the 21 was able to get by the 50.
Yeah, it looks like Patrick Gitter has taken over the third place position. That makes Team Conti have the first and third place spot. But Brian Johnson always got to be the person that probably ruins those guys'. I want a 1-2, not a 1-3. But Brian Johnson, he's been so fast. I think he's starting to be an early favorite for a championship. I don't want to say that too early, but I'll tell you what, he's been looking incredibly good here as we're 182 laps into this race, coming up very quickly to the end of tonight's broadcast as Derek Heitman runs away with it, 2.2 second lead. I don't think anybody's surprised to see Derek Heitman up here in front.
No, not at all. We know he's a great driver, and, being out front, he was early in the race in stage 2. He was able to figure out what kind of pace he needs to set to stay out front and not get caught from behind, which is a great, that's a great, time to learn that. And that set him up for this stage and, this last stage and long run. So I think he's an incredibly smart driver. He's incredibly gifted and talented. So I think it all worked out to where he was able to set his own pace.
It's his first time here, too.
Yeah, right. Well, wherever we go, it's the first time. But he always does a great job, no matter if it's his first time or not.
Yeah.
What I've seen here tonight, guys, though, is this is the sign of a really intelligent race car driver. So what he did coming out of that last green flag pit stop is he had those 3 lap cars in front of him, and he did have, at that time, it was Schaffner. He would have only been about a second just down the road from him behind him. So he did a good job at navigating those 3 lap cars earlier, which gave him that buffer over Schaffner and clear air to allow him to drive the next 10, 15 laps, which has given him this 2-second lead. And since then, it's no one's been headed with only 10 laps to go. So very intelligent driving there, and that's why he's 2 seconds up the road.
Well, I'll tell you what, if Brian is able to continue to, I think, keep the pace that he's running right now, I think he might be able to catch Derek. I mean, last time by, he's been taking tenths out of this lead right now, 1.9 seconds right now. But, you know, he's got some traffic, though. You can see the 9 of J.C. Evans missing that front end. It depends on when Brian catches him. You can see also Miller Bonds. Things could go either one or two ways, poorly or good for Brian Johnson. But last time by, him and Derek, same exact lap time. Brian Johnson's got some really good speed, despite even having to deal with lap cars. Look at that. Miller kind of in the way here. That might hurt him quite a bit.
Yeah, he's got good speed, but does he have the time to use it? Sorry, Brandon. Does he have the time to use it? Like you said, some lap cars there, and he's going to have to navigate through them. For everyone he navigates through, no doubt Derek's going to do the same thing. So over to you, Brandon. But has he left his run too late as he goes now back into 2 seconds down?
Yeah, and I was just going to say, yeah, it's you know, lap traffic is part of the race. It's tough to navigate through, and no one really has to give you a lane. You hope that they do. But you know, nonetheless, you know, if anything, Derek should have to fight harder for, you know, in terms of passing a lap car. Not to say that happens, you know, in you know, sim racing, but if anything, the disadvantage would be to Derek. So it's just a matter. That's racing, and it's a matter of figuring out how to do it as fast as you can.
And if anybody's curious, what we're talking about is Brian Johnson. He was trying to get by Miller Bonds. Of course, it wasn't on our screens, but definitely interesting to see how that works out. Now, a lot of drivers have a memory about things like this. I mean, so if Bonds, I mean, not to kind of try to throw Bonds under the bus, but I mean, Brian's going to remember that whenever it comes to another time that maybe Miller needs a break thrown his way. And you're right, Derek should be the one that's getting raced hard right now because he's the one that puts you a lap down. Brian don't put you a lap down.
Right. And another good part about this league is that we have, you know, 6 laps to go. So most drivers are going to get out your way, but at the end of the day, like, yes, you know, no one has to give that position up to you. You know, it's the passing car's responsibility to get around the lap car, and that's racing for you. And yeah, it's tough, but you have to manage it. It's better to be up front having to deal with it than not. So.
And here we go. Like you said, now I do believe less than 5 laps to go for Derek Heitman, and I think it's all pretty much said and done unless something terrible happens here for the 76. But right now, he's in the lead. Now, a little bit of contact with the wall there for Darren Mullins right in front of Miller Bonds.
And Brian, not to cut you off, but the reason why Miller has to drive hard because that's for position with Darren.
So, that makes a lot more sense
well.
then. Mm-hmm. Makes a lot more sense then. That's definitely a very, very good point. Let's see. Hopefully we stay green because I know last week I do believe it was towards the 5 lap to go mark. That's when we had a caution that it led to a green-white checkered. We mentioned that, of course, Patrick Gitter was able to take new tires and drove through the field. I think hopefully we can stay green here. Derek Heitman, though, 2-second gap on Brian Johnson right now. Of course, Patrick Gitter sits in that 3rd place position. Josh Schaffner, he's in 4th. Chris Johnson is caught up quickly to Josh Schaffner. Can he maybe make a charge to possibly get up to 4th place position? Matt DeCiani, I've been surprised that he hasn't been able to work his way up to Chris Johnson. He's 3.2 seconds. Last time we looked at him, that's about where he was before. As we see, of course, Heitman trying to get by more lap traffic. That is, I do believe, Randy Belk there. As we have taken, I do believe, 2 laps to go at Phoenix Raceway. Derek Heitman, stage number 2, getting ready to take the white flag here. And, man, he has just been impressive since today. We've seen him join this series. We can't say enough good things about that driver. Always great to have him up in here in the booth, and I think we're going to get a chance to talk to him again here tonight. As the white flag waves. And Derek Heitman goes through turn 1 and 2 for the final time here tonight at Phoenix Raceway. He has enough room that he can wave to the fans here as he comes down the backstretch. Lap cars in front of him, but I don't think he's too concerned about him considering he's got such a gap back to Brian Johnson. And he is going to exit 3 and 4 and cross the start-finish line as tonight's winner at Phoenix Raceway in the O'Reilly Auto Parts 195. Congratulations to winner Derek Heitman, able to win, commanding win too. I mean, this is a dominating victory for this driver.
What's great is that now you see the 4 give a bump to the 76 there, congratulatory bump, but they were battling for the lead last week at Vegas. Unfortunately, Heitman ran out of gas at the line, and Brian got it. So it's good to see a little bit of not a rivalry, but good racing between the two. So definitely strong favorites to begin the year.
Yeah, definitely. To see the kind of the give and take and the camaraderie here in this series is definitely something that warms your heart for sure. Let's take a quick look at the results of tonight's race as we see Derek Heitman burning it down after his victory here tonight. Of course, Derek Heitman won, I do believe, at Atlanta Motor Speedway, and he's won tonight. Brian Johnson, of course, finishes in second place. He's last week's winner. Patrick Gitter finishes in third. Josh Schaffner fourth. Chris Johnson fifth. Matt DeCiani sixth. Randy Mullins is in seventh. Tanner Marty, very impressive run tonight, eighth place. Alexander Carr, another impressive run, finishes ninth. Greg Carr, look at that. Nephew and uncle finishing ninth and 10th. John Binder, after his interesting call, ends up finishing 11th place. Evan Longacre finishes in 12th. Greg Wachinski in 13th. Miller Bonds in 14th. That was that battle we saw between him. And, of course, I do believe Darren Mullins, of course, he finished in 15th. Jay Hone in 16th. Kenny Powell 17th. Randy Belk finishes 18th. Jeffrey Ford in 19th. Frank Flores in 20th. Mark Sanchez finishes in 21st. J.C. Evans in 22nd. Blair Holloman 23rd. Kenneth Bartholomew in 24th. Jeremy Sumter in his first race started, I do believe, outside pole, ends up finishing in 25th. Paul Olson in 26th. Tim Wortman Jr. in 27th. Brandon Postlock, I'm sorry, Brandon, finishes 28th. Kyle Holden at 29th. And David Centeni, who wrecked on the first lap. That's gotta, I hate that too. I hate that. David's been so fast this season. Finishes in 30th. But with that, we'll take one last step away. We'll come back and we'll talk to our top three. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the ISCA Super Cup Series. As we wrapped up our race here at Phoenix Raceway, we're going to go ahead and start the interview process. Patrick Gitter going to be joining up in the booth, and I do believe he was one of the biggest movers. I do believe tied actually for biggest mover, considering him and Brian Johnson started 25th and 26th, and they both finished second and third. That's definitely an interesting statistic. Patrick, how you doing, man? It seemed like you got a fast race car here tonight. What did you need to get up there and battle for that win?
Hey guys, yeah, honestly, damage. That was the first or second caution. Got involved, just wrong place, wrong time, came down pit road and realized we had some unrepairable rear end damage. I think the diffuser got bent up, one of those cautions, and I had no clue, how the car was going to drive, what kind of pace we had, and we had, solid pace to stay up front, but I just knew that something was preventing us from hitting our optimum pace and getting up there to the front.
Well, definitely a good way to, I guess, recover and be able to, kind of deal with that. So even you weren't even able to fix it on pit road at all?
Nah, we checked on pit road. I queued up crew chief, and he was telling me that they couldn't fix all the damage on the car. So that was unfortunate, and it was interesting because it didn't look or feel like it was a ton either. I mean, it had to be some underbody stuff that happened in one of those cautions. So that was unfortunate, but um, still, I mean, the car drove great, had some good battles. Guys up front ran well. So I mean, Phoenix is known for cautions, and I feel like this was a really good race. So it speaks to the guys that are in here tonight.
It definitely seemed like a good race for you guys for sure. But I mean, you seemed like you had your hands full with drivers like Josh Schaffner. It seemed like he was good on the long run, but then it seemed like he came alive later on in the race. Do you think that maybe the conditions kind of started suiting your car again?
I felt like it was a little bit better late run or late race compared to early, and yeah, I mean, definitely shout out to Josh and Brian, Chris. Those guys were up front all night. Brandon would have been too if he hadn't gotten junked in that first wreck. I hate that for him. But yeah, I mean, it came to us there kind of towards the end. We were able to make some pit stop adjustments, which definitely helped.
Well, definitely great job to you tonight, Patrick. Who can we give a shout out after your third place finish?
Yeah, man. Shout out to Derek for bringing home the win. Proud of him for doing that tonight. Shout out to Brian for second place finish. Um, Team Conti some performance for the sets this week. Interested to see how we stack up. Hadn't run NIS yet this week, so interested to see how that goes tomorrow night. Shout out to Martin PC, um, Johan Seminario Designs, and definitely shout out to you guys in the booth and for Kenny for running the league.
All right, Patrick. Thanks for your time, brother. Best of luck next weekend. I do believe we're going to Bristol, so that's going to be an interesting one.
Yes, sir. I'm looking forward to it. Appreciate it, guys.
All righty, that was Patrick Gitter, driver of the 21 machine. Very awesome. A really good finish for him today. 26th up to third. Of course, he is our, at the moment, reigning champion. So definitely always look to him to get a good finish. Brian Johnson, though, of course, is going to be spoken to next. I think believe Brandon Pasalacqua going to get to interview his own teammate. Isn't that going to be cool?
Hey, Brian, it's Brandon Pasalacqua on the booth. You got a copy?
What's going on, brother?
Hey, man, congratulations on that second place finish. That was a heck of a run from you. Starting in the back and getting a good podium spot. Now let's start from the beginning. How did your Q laps go tonight?
Oh, you had to bring that up. You had to bring that up. So, to my defense, I've been out most of the week, so I didn't put in a lot of practice, especially in Q trims. So, yeah, it was pretty bad. So, started deep in the field. I think I was back there with Gitter. So, luckily, we made it through a lot of the a lot of the incidents there early on, and we were able to put down some laps, some clean green flag runs there, and march our way up to the front.
Yeah, I was telling the guys up in the booth that you just came back from vacation, so that's worth at least a tenth a lap there. You're relaxed and you had some time to decompress. So did a great job. Now, if you don't mind, tell me about your strategy throughout the race. Starting deeper in the pack, it's tough to navigate. So it appeared that your number four Chevrolet Camaro had good long run pace. So tell me kind of what your mindset was throughout the race to keep that pace.
And the strategy was just to stay clean, pace the car. I knew just about everybody would come back to us. I wasn't sure how the Conti cars were going to be on the long run, but I felt like we had a little bit more pace there on the long run. But hey, man, shout out to Paradigm Motorsports. Like I said, I've been out most of the week, and yeah, the guys at Paradigm Motorsports, man, they put in some work this week. You, Brandon, doing some laps, collecting data. Randy, Chris, Josh, even Clayton Hoffman, man. I mean, you guys put in the work, got the data, and I was able to jump in here. And I literally just got home at around 9:20. So got home, hopped in the rig, and loaded the set and went.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you had a great car, and I'm curious. Did your car was it ill handling at any point in the run, or was it fairly consistent throughout the race?
Early in the race, it was getting loose. By stage two, I mean, it was pretty much spot on, and then stage three, it was pretty much lights out. So I hated that we started in the back number one, but we ran out of laps there at the end. I felt like I was reeling in Derek there. I had to deal with some lap traffic, but congrats to him. He ran a heck of a race. Same with Josh, Chris, and Patrick there, and also Matt and Randy.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great race. It was fun to watch up here in the booth, and you guys put on one heck of a show. Now, if you don't mind, give me your thoughts about Bristol next week and what your game plan is there.
No game plan yet, so we just got to put in some time and do some practice, work on a set, and go from there. So
Yeah, for sure. We're just lucky and grateful that we're not on dirt this time around in the spring. So that's always good for all of us. And who would you like to give a shout out to tonight?
yeah, of course, my guys at Paradigm Motorsports, heck of a job this week. Clayton Hoffman over at NitroRacing.com. If you need to set up, go check them out. Yeah, Kenny Powell for putting this league on. It's always a good time, and Brian Britt and the guys up in the booth.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian. Congratulations on your second place finish, and I hope you have a good rest of your night.
10-4. Thank you.
And I think Brian has our first place finisher and Derek Heitman.
Yeah, I mean, Brian Johnson got me about to blush up here. Derek Heitman, though, in the 76, definitely a great run for you. Of course, you won in Atlanta, and now I do believe you're the first repeat winner this season, Derek. I mean, looked like you had a hot rod underneath you. It seemed like, I mean, one of our the co-commentator that jumped in and helped us out, Aiden Schultz, said that you looked like you were a very smart driver tonight. What was going through your mind all race? It just seemed like you were consistent.
Don't die, pretty much. Um, First lap of the race was a little scary, so I'm glad I made it through that. And then, every time I got around somebody, I was just trying to tiptoe around them and be careful, just because these cars can get a little loose on exit. And the dirty air here was atrocious. I mean, anytime I caught lap traffic, I was tight. So being able to navigate lap traffic was very beneficial to me. Um, Other than that, I mean, the car felt great. It was rolling center really good. When I had the clean air, and I was just doing my best to hit my marks, run my pace. When I seen who was it? Brian catching me a little bit there towards the end of the race, I started backing my corner up a little bit, and I was kind of paying attention to his lap times and making sure that I wasn't going to roast my tires off. Um, just in case he did catch me, so I had a little bit to fight him with, but I think he got caught up in some unfortunate lap traffic, and we were just able to make it happen tonight.
No, that you did. You did dominating fashion as well. Of course, being this is your first time here, you know, I'm just playing. But definitely a great job to you tonight, Derek. I mean, it seems like you're coming out here, and it seems like you just mean business this season. Of course, we thought Road to Pro was going to kind of interfere with your run here in the season, but it seems like you're kind of lighting up on all cylinders here. I mean, I think you're going to exit this race with the points lead. I mean, how does that make you feel? What are you going to continue to do at Bristol?
Well, I mean, to be honest, Road to Pro is actually helping me a lot. Running the truck, and then I'm intermixing some Xfinity races in throughout the week. Running every single vehicle is actually helping me because you have to drive, all three of them completely different, but they all three teach you something. And so when you're able to put all three of them together and race whatever car that you're in, it's very beneficial in my opinion. So I encourage everyone to, whether you're comfortable in the car or not, or in the truck, buy a setup and go out there and run the race that you can. Bristol, I don't know how Bristol's going to go. I mean, next week RTP is at Atlanta, and I'm assuming it's going to be stay alive strategy and don't die. Second split last week was the worst split. God bless Kenny for holding up the race start so we could sneak in here last week. But yeah, I mean, being in second split RTP, there's a lot of caution, so I'm not even sure I'm gonna make it next week. But we'll give her our best shot if we do.
All right, Derek. Well, we definitely hope to see you at Bristol for sure. I know you're going to put on a show if you show up. That's for sure. I know that's your first time at that track. We're never going to let that die, by the way. But who can we give a shout out after this big win, second win of the season?
Shout out my teammates, Matt and Pat, Randy, Frank. Shout out. I gotta shout out Shane Parrish. Shane Parrish is having some health conditions right now, so I know he wasn't here tonight, but anyone in here who's relatively close to Shane or wish him well, if you guys would reach out to him and send him a message, I'm sure he'd greatly appreciate it. Shout out Conti, Michael Conti, for putting together a good setup for us this week. I mean, this thing was just absolutely ripping. Shout out you guys for being up here in the booth, putting in keeping the show interesting, and then of course Kenny for putting on the league for us every single week.
All right, Derek. Thanks for your time and congratulations.
Thank you.
All righty, that was Derek Heitman, driver of the 76 machine. Definitely put on a great performance here tonight in his Team Conti machine. Definitely dominant, I'd say, considering he won stage number 2 and was able to win the race. I would assume he definitely led the most laps here tonight at Phoenix Raceway. And what an interesting race. We saw everything. We saw absolutely everything that could happen here tonight. We saw it. I mean, we saw a wreck on lap 1. We saw other wrecks that took out other drivers. We saw drivers missing their front ends. And we also saw green flag pit stops. So, I mean, every single thing you could possibly probably see here tonight, you saw it, except for we did not see a green-white checkered. I'm probably a little bit thankful for that, but it was an interesting race. I do want to give a shout-out. Brandon Prosolacqua, thank you for stepping in and helping me when Big Al out of town here tonight, and also Aiden Schultz for jumping in as well. We had a party up here in the booth, that's for sure, and they had a party out on the racetrack as well. We're going to have even bigger party next week at Bristol Motor Speedway for, I do believe we're going to have 316 laps there at Bristol. I can't wait for it. It's going to be an exciting one. Bristol is such a awesome racetrack, and I'll tell you, 316 laps doesn't sound, it sounds like a lot, but it's going to go by actually relatively fast, especially if we have green flag racing, considering the lap times around that place, 15 to 16 second laps. But it's all going to be around 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's when the stream itself starts. Race itself goes green flag at 9:30 p.m. Make sure you're there. You don't want to miss this one. I tell you what, I mean, there's going to be some drama. There's going to be some probably fist fighting in the infield. I'm just kidding, but it is going to be a fun one. You don't want to miss, that's for sure. My name is Brian Britt. We'll see you next time. This has been the ISCA Super Cup Series. Thanks for watching.
There might be some rain coming through. We expect rain soon. Rain is close. The session has been declared wet. No sign of this rain stopping. Rain is clearing up. Rain should be gone for now. Nothing but sunshine all day.
I found the ISCA after I'd been in the service for a long time. I'd been in iRacing for well over a decade and spent most of my time in NASCAR series, a lot of fixed racing for the most part, and really just got to a point in my iRacing career where I really wanted to get involved in open setup racing versus fixed, partially because I was just looking for a little higher level of competition, you know, maybe a little cleaner driving and maybe get away from some of the challenges that go along with fixed racing on the service. And it took me a while as I was really searching out leagues because I kind of had a very specific thing I was looking for. A, I wanted to be an established league. You know, B, I just really wanted clean, quality drivers to be racing around. And once I found the ISCA, I found out really quick that it was going to check all those boxes, and I've been with the ISCA ever since.